Chapter 1788. Qin Wentian was somewhat speechless. Dong Huangying even intentionally praised his talent. It's just that she didn't want him to compare himself to Yu Changkong. Clearly, she felt that Yu Changkong was more outstanding even though Qin Wentian had released 13 Heaven Heart mandates. In truth, Yu Changkong was truly a character with supreme talent. His attainments in the Tao of Time were very high. If not, no matter how gutsy he was, he wouldn't dare to impersonate the Time King. If his talent wasn't high enough, it would be very easy for him to be exposed. Would the Time King choose a mediocre character? During these days, Yu Changkong had also intentionally displayed his talent, attracting the attention of many world overlords in the convention of the Myriad Realms. No wonder Dong Huangying would say this. Little princess, I don't have the intention to compare myself to him. I'm just stating the facts. It's fine if you admire his talent, but if you want to get closer to him, you still have to observe his character. Qin Wentian reminded again. Enough, brother Qin. I naturally understand this. There will still be good fortune after the convention of the Myriad Realms. Brother Qin, you have to work hard. Dong Huangying smiled, intentionally changing the topic. Clearly, she didn't place Qin Wentian's words in her heart. Since she intentionally didn't want to talk about this matter, Qin Wentian naturally wouldn't keep talking about it. He could only reply, let's hope that there's good fortune. Little princess, I'm going to cultivate now. There's no need to reply. After speaking, Qin Wentian kept his messaging crystal and bitterly smiled as he shook his head. He has already reminded Dong Huangying. If Dong Huangying took his words to heart, she would naturally be more alert. But if she didn't take his words to heart, there was nothing he could do about it. He only said this much, he didn't even tell 10 Miles Springwind and the others about the Dao Bone. He naturally wouldn't tell Dong Huangying about this. In terms of relationship, they were much closer compared to Dong Huangying. Naturally, this matter was a secret to him, but to 10 Miles Springwind and the others, it wasn't important at all. Hence, he didn't intentionally hide this from them. Maybe, I'm thinking too much. Qin Wentian mumbled. Even if Dong Huangying ended up together with Yu Changkong, most probably given Dong Huangying's status, Yu Changkong wouldn't do anything to her and would still treat her well. Also, Yu Changkong himself had extraordinary talent and was naturally a good candidate for Dong Huangying. Why was he worrying here? The three hegemonic powers of the mystic region were Ziwei Divine Court, Great Devil Divine Palace, and Heavenly Deity Mountain. The Eastern Royal Immortal Realms was a vassal of the Ziwei Divine Court. Their background was extremely powerful. It's just that if Dong Huangying fantasized that Yu Changkong would be like the Sword Monarch back then, challenging heavenly deities on the Heavenly Deity Mountain, this was most probably impossible. How many people in the world could achieve such a feat? Qin Wentian didn't think too much about this. He continued to immerse himself in cultivation. The commotion in the outside world seemed to have nothing to do with him. He came to participate in the convention of the Myriad Realms because he wanted to broaden his horizons with the various world overlords of the mystic region. He wanted to walk out of the Qingqing realm. Right now, in the convention, he met Luotian Lei and learned that his mother's clan was the Luotian clan. He also learned that his father's clan was in the Heaven region. He even saw the mysterious abilities of the Time King, able to peer into the past and the future, and even obtained the Dao Bone of a heavenly deity. To him, this convention of the Myriad Realms could already be considered a great harvest. He was very satisfied. Right now, other than cultivating, he also hoped that he would be able to meet his uncle who was rushing over here. Naturally, the flow of time in the Time realm was different from the outside world. Maybe a few years might pass in here, but only a few days might pass in the outside world. There was no need to be anxious. Today, the Time realm suddenly trembled. Qin Wentian, who was cultivating in his palace, could sense the rumbling of the heavens and earth. He opened his eyes, gleaming with sharpness. After that, he walked out of the palace and stared into the distance. He saw an incomparably majestic gigantic mountain descending from the sky, directly enveloping the ancient mountain he was on earlier. This mountain was even more majestic, it was impossible to climb it. The entire mountain was glowing with light, incomparably dazzling. There was actually a crystalline luster circulating around the ancient mountain. Heavenly Deity Mountain. In the time realm, many people exclaimed in shock. This mountain seemed to have the shadow of the Heavenly Deity Mountain. Those major characters understood that the good fortune of the Heavenly Deity Mountain has descended. They could enter the time realm to search for good fortune. Just when the many world overlords were in an uproar, the heavens and earth trembled once more. In the airspace above the time realm, devil might churned wildly, resembling an apocalyptic world. After that, a demonic platform descended from the sky, floating in the air, exuding an unparalleled pressure. On this demonic platform, there was a demonic throne. On the throne, there was a supreme demonic treasure, the demonic armor. Beside the throne, there was also a demonic spear, exuding a heaven-shaking pressure. The Great Devil Divine Battle Platform of the Great Devil Divine Palace. Another person felt his heart pounding. He knew the meaning behind the appearance of this devil platform. The experts of the Great Devil Divine Palace loved to battle. They had always been famous for their combat prowess, believing in iron-blooded combat strength. Everyone naturally understood the meaning behind this devil platform descending in the time realm. This was a platform meant for participants of the Convention of the Myriad Realms. Beside it, the treasures of the victors would surely be extremely terrifying. Sadly, to the vast majority of people, this was nothing more than wishful thinking. The treasures of the Great Devil Divine Palace were things that even major characters would want to fight for. Ordinary world overlords and even transcendent-level world overlords wouldn't have a chance. Maybe, they could only head to the Heavenly Deity Mountain to search for good fortune. The appearance of the Heavenly Deity Mountain and the Great Devil Divine Battle Platform caused the entire time realm to tremble. However, this hasn't concluded yet. Because, the three hegemonic powers of the Convention of the Myriad Realms would always act together. Right now, there was no movement from the Ziwei Divine Court. Just when this thought appeared in the minds of people, in the boundless starry space, an incomparably resplendent beam of light suddenly shone down, resembling the light of a constellation. The Ziwei star had always been known as the Emperor constellation and was incomparably exalted. At this moment, an incomparably dazzling imperial light descended from the sky. Next, the light of the constellations descended. In the void of the light realm, a sea of constellations appeared. In the center of the sea, there were 4 constellations that shone the brightest. Each constellation interweaved into the shape of a human, an illusory figure that was blurry. In the next instant, the light from the sea of constellations illuminated the entire time realm, shining on the bodies of every expert. After that, the faces of the experts of the Convention of the Myriad Realms could be seen on the 4 constellations. However, the faces of the world overlords only flashed for an instant, changing constantly. Many people stared at this strange scene. Could it be that the faces of every world overlord would be reflected in the constellation sea? But in reality, this wasn't the case. When the light from the constellation ocean shone on the bodies of many people, it only lasted for an instant. Their appearances weren't imprinted in the constellation ocean. Only when the light shone on some young world overlords would their appearances be imprinted in the human-shaped constellation ocean. Qin Wentian, who was standing in the palace, naturally didn't escape the light from the constellation sea as well. When the light shone on him, his face in the air flickered for an instant. After that, he felt the light from the constellations shining on him. There seemed to be a mysterious energy summoning him, wanting him to head to the constellation sea. What a mysterious energy! Qin Wentian silently mused. The Heavenly Deity Mountain, Great Devil Battle Platform, Constellation Sea. Behind them, there were the silhouettes of 3 hegemonic powers. The peak powers of the Mystic Region, the Heavenly Deity Mountain, Great Devil Divine Palace and Ziwei Divine Court. The Convention of the Myriad Realms was a grand event of the peak of the Mystic Region. How could the 3 hegemonic powers of the Mystic Region not be present? This was also the source of the rallying power of the Convention of the Myriad Realms. Countless world overlords rushed here from all over the Mystic Region to participate in this event. Elder brother, I saw you. Luo Shenlei's voice rang out in Qin Wentian's mind. I saw you too. My figure flashed by in the constellation sea. Qin Wentian took out his messaging crystal as he spoke. Seems like for this convention, the Ziwei Divine Court is still biased towards the younger generations. Their target is very clear, excluding the world overlords of the older generations. In this constellation sea, there are 4 human-shaped shadows. This means that they might be able to select the 4 most outstanding geniuses from the younger generations. Maybe, they might have a chance to join the Ziwei Divine Court. Luo Shenlei guessed. Elder brother, if you participate, there shouldn't be a problem. You would definitely be able to join the Ziwei Divine Court. Join the Ziwei Divine Court? Qin Wentian mumbled. For some reason, he didn't have such thoughts towards the hegemonic powers of the mystic region. Maybe it was because he had obtained the undying inheritance, or maybe it was because he didn't trust those hegemonic powers. He was still filled with reverence towards those lofty hegemonic powers. However, reverence didn't represent trust. To him, those hegemonic powers were completely foreign to him. He didn't understand them, it was naturally hard for him to trust them. In addition, the hatred he bore might implicate the heavenly deity race of the heaven region. The Great Devil Divine Palace is as tyrannical and direct as ever. They provided the Great Devil Divine Battle platform, allowing you to fight to your heart's content. The rewards have already been prepared, just waiting for you to come and collect them. This is the usual style of the Great Devil Divine Palace. Luo Shenlei laughed. The heavenly deity mountain is still fond of such superficial things. No wonder they are ranked last among the 3 hegemonic powers of the mystic region. However, I can enter and see what's inside. Layer, do you think I should join a heavenly deity power? Qin Wentian suddenly asked. On the other side, Luo Shenlei fell silent. Qin Wentian's situation was extremely complicated. No one was clearer than her on this point. For the Luoshan clan's side, if they were of one mind, things would naturally be easy. Her elder brother can directly head to the Luoshan clan. However, the Luoshan clan originally had a different view of what happened in the past. If Qin Wentian went to the Luoshan clan, she didn't know if it would be good or bad. Also, over there, Qin Wentian's enemies were extremely powerful. She was very clear that it was impossible for the 3 hegemonic powers of the mystic region to stand out against them for Qin Wentian. Hence, Luo Shenlei didn't know how to reply to this question. After a long period of silence, she replied, Elder brother, you can decide for yourself. In any case, no matter what, I will stand on your side. Okay. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded. Although he didn't ask Luo Shenlei about the Luoshan clan's situation, he could faintly guess a little in his heart. Naturally, he still had to wait until he met his uncle before he could clarify everything. In this convention, was he going to release his own radiance? Chapter 1789. Qin Wentian was still thinking if he should display his brilliance or not when he saw that there were already people making their moves. A figure transformed into a beam of light, directly appearing in the constellation sea created by the Ziwei Divine Court. This person was clad in robes that fluttered in the wind. Astral light revolved around him, incomparably resplendent. This person was none other than Old Man Tianqi's disciple, Yu Changkong. He seemed to be somewhat impatient. He pretended to have obtained the Time King's inheritance and maintained a good relationship with the major powers. What was his ultimate goal? There was no need to doubt that it was to enter the strongest power in the mystic region or even become a disciple of a heavenly deity. The Great Devil Divine Palace wasn't suitable for him. The heavenly deity mountain was the weakest among the 3 hegemonic powers. The Ziwei Divine Court was undoubtedly his first choice. And now, the Ziwei Divine Court just so happened to set up the constellation sea, shining its light on the young geniuses. This was simply an opportunity bestowed by the heavens, how could he miss it? When he descended upon the Sea of Constellations, one of the constellation mansions gradually transformed into his figure, as though he was the master of the constellation mansions. Bai Qingfeng from the Samsara Temple and Li Shao from the Clear Sky God Mountain both moved, occupying a constellation. The young genius beside Dong Huangying also wanted to compete when he saw Yu Changkong acting. His silhouette also flashed, occupying a constellation. In just an instant, the 4 constellations in the constellation C were all occupied by someone. However, the light from the constellation C didn't disappear. It continued shining its light on the young geniuses of the Time Realm, as though summoning them, wanting them to challenge the position of the Constellation Lord. Yu Changkong is truly unwilling to pass on this responsibility. Little Yu seems to be a little impatient. Seems like jealousy is harmful. An older world overlord from the Eastern Royal Immortal Realm spoke. He was Dong Huangying's elder and naturally knew what Little Yu was thinking. The young man's name was Xiao Yu. He was the disciple of a good friend of his. This good friend of his was also an extraordinary character who lived in seclusion in the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms. Little Yu's temperament isn't bad. But when he encountered Little Ying's matter, it's inevitable that he would be impatient. The 4 constellation lords are probably as many as the clouds. Now that he has occupied a region, it would be extremely difficult for him to hold on until the end. There are too many world overlords from the major powers eyeing him covetously. An old man at the side spoke. As for Yu Changkong, he is still confident. I wonder if he can continue to occupy the constellation divine seat. For the Ziwei divine court, let's leave it to the younger generation to compete. As for the great devil divine battle platform, the 2 treasures on the Devil King throne might be extremely powerful divine weapons. Do you want to compete for them? It's even more difficult. The eyes of the experts from the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms gleamed with sharpness. With so many major characters from the various peak powers here, it would be extremely difficult to obtain the number 1 position on the Great Devil Battle platform. It's true that many old fellows haven't sparred for many years. Someone at the side laughed. However, if they were to be defeated like this, it would be too shameful. This Great Devil Divine Palace was truly too direct, not giving any face to the major characters. In any case, they should at least be a little more secretive. If they were defeated, everyone would be able to see it. The Chao clan will definitely fight for it. The ruling clan of the Scarlet Sun Immortal Realms, the Chao clan, was precisely a vassal clan of the Great Devil Divine Palace. In truth, the convention this time around was also a competition between the vassals of the 3 hegemonic powers. In the direction of the Heavenly Deity Mountain, many people headed towards the ancient mountain. It seemed that there would be good fortune there. Qin Wentian quietly sat there and watched everything. 10 Miles Springwind glanced over. Among us, only Wentian can contend for the position of the Constellation Lord. I'm afraid we can only head to the Heavenly Deity Mountain to take a look. Because they were too old, the Constellation Lords of the Ziwei Divine Court had nothing to do with them. They couldn't contend for the Great Devil Battle platform. Hence, their only choice was to head to the Heavenly Deity Mountain. Wentian, which Constellation Lord do you want to contend for? How about Yu Changkong's Constellation Lord? Chao Tian glanced at Qin Wentian and smiled. I won't contend anymore. Qin Wentian smiled in reply. He had already made his decision, he wouldn't contend anymore. It was fine for him to just watch the excitement of the convention. This time around, the purpose of him coming here was to broaden his horizons. Even if he was just a spectator, it would still be extremely fascinating. In addition, he already had a great harvest this time around. If he continued to contend, he would definitely enter the sights of the hegemonic powers. At that time, if the hegemonic powers invited him, should he agree or reject? He was in a dilemma. Not contending. The few of them stared at Qin Wentian in astonishment. This fellow was really open-minded. However, everyone has their own ambitions, they wouldn't say anything. They only felt that it was a pity. Qin Wentian still had a chance to contend. His talent was very high and his combat prowess had yet to fully erupt before. He might not necessarily lose to those geniuses from the hegemonic powers. Elder brother, seems like you have already made your decision. Luo Shenlei smiled as she transmitted her voice over. "MHM," Qin Wendian transmitted his voice back. He had already decided to give up on this opportunity. At this moment, there was already a figure flashing by, challenging the Constellation Lord position arranged by the Ziwei Divine Court. This person was also a world overlord from a hegemonic power. He was challenging the Constellation Lord position occupied by Li Shao. Li Shao was a disciple of the Clear Sky God Mountain. Once, the Clear Sky God Mountain was a heavenly deity-level power, but now, it has already declined. This person wanted to see how strong Li Shao was. The space in the constellation sea was extremely vast, like a constellation world. Each of the 4 constellation regions was like a boundless world, able to support a battle between world overlords. How could the Ziwei Divine Court not be able to do this? When that expert entered the constellation space occupied by Li Xiao's world heart enveloped him. Numerous world gates appeared, and from within, ferocious clear sky divine energy gushed forth, resembling bolts of desolate lightning, wanting to shatter everything. That challenger's expression changed when he sensed the might. However, Li Xiao naturally wanted to establish his might by defeating someone first. A disciple of the Clear Sky God Mountain was the first to be challenged. This was a humiliation to him. Godly punishment lightning descended from the world gates. They were like illusory chains that slashed down on the challenger's body, shattering his body and dispersing his soul. Boom! Below, the auras of an expert from a major power gushed forth. His eyes were cold as he stared at Li Xiao in the constellation sea. One of them roared in anger, "Li Xiao, you are actually so ruthless." Li Xiao calmly glanced down. He didn't say anything, but an expert from the Clear Sky God Mountain spoke. With such strength, he actually went up to embarrass himself and even wanted to occupy the Constellation Lord position. "If we don't kill him, what's the point of leaving him alive? You guys are ruthless." That expert from the other side coldly spoke. The moment he appeared, he was already filled with anger. Seems like all the experts here were determined to obtain the positions of the 4 constellation lords. Next, someone challenged Xiao Yu. This Xiao Yu's strength was also extraordinary, and he defeated his opponent. Another person went up to contest for the position of Yu Changkong. After Yu Changkong released his world heart, a terrifying desolate intent gushed forth. It was like moonlight cascading down, directly immobilizing his opponent. After that, a terrifying beam of light flashed, so fast that even immortal senses couldn't capture it. It directly left a line of blood on his opponent's neck, but he didn't kill him. "Thank you for letting me win." Yu Changkong's demeanor was extraordinary. He clasped his hands and spoke humbly. "A true dragon has appeared on the Sun Moon's sacred mountain. I'm completely convinced that I lost to you." That genius clasped his hands. Yu Changkong could have killed him directly, yet he showed mercy. This naturally caused him to have a favorable impression of him. Upon seeing this scene, the experts from the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms nodded. A dragon among men, this disciple of Old Man Tianshi was low profile before this. The battle here was extremely fascinating, but no one went up to the devil battle platform. Clearly, those major characters all had trepidation. "Later, I'll return first." Qin Wendian transmitted his voice. "You don't want to watch anymore?" Luo Shenlei asked. "I should be able to see it from my palace." Qin Wendian smiled. After that, he silently departed. However, he didn't attract too much attention. Right now, the gazes of everyone were on the constellation sea. After returning to his palace, Qin Wendian closed his eyes in cultivation. His perception soared upwards, all the way to the 9 heavenly layers. The time realm was an extremely special place. Although this place seemed to be isolated from the outside world and had a different flow of time, it wasn't isolated from the 9 heavenly layers. Or more accurately, the 9 heavenly layers were extremely wondrous. Right now, the battle over there was extremely intense and no one would notice him. He could use this chance to condense his 8th astral soul. Boundless astral light cascaded down from the 9 heavenly layers. It was extremely beautiful. Qin Wentian's perception continued to soar upwards, all the way to the peak of the 8th heavenly layer. An indescribably immense pressure bore down on him, like heavenly might, inviolable. However, Qin Wentian still persisted. The 7 astral souls he had were all from the 8th heavenly layer. As for his 8th astral soul, he hoped to condense it into the 9th heavenly layer. Boom! An incomparably powerful pressure bore down on his consciousness. Qin Wentian gritted his teeth, enduring the pressure as he continued to soar upwards. However, a surge of heavenly might bore down on him, directly destroying his consciousness. This caused his true body in the time realm to groan in pain. However, he didn't give up just like that. He continued to break through and finally, after many days, his consciousness finally reached the 9th astral river. Over here, there were only a few constellations, and the distance between them was extremely far. Each constellation was extremely dazzling. Time. Qin Wentian had already comprehended the time-attributed energy. His consciousness directly searched for it, enduring the incomparable pressure. His consciousness floated to an illusory astral river. This constellation was like a long river, piercing through the 9 heavenly layers as it flowed downwards unceasingly. Qin Wentian's consciousness directly entered the astral river, attaching itself to it. In the next instant, the astral river flowed downwards from the 9 heavenly layers, connecting the heavens and earth. A beam of astral light from the astral river directly landed on Qin Wentian's body in the time realm. At this instant, although the attention of everyone was attracted by the constellation C and the Devil Battle platform, there were still characters with powerful senses who turned their gazes in the direction where Qin Wentian was at. Over there was an extremely powerful astral energy. In the air, there seemed to be a beam of astral light piercing through the heavens and earth. Chapter 1790. Some of the major characters who were spectating the battle all turned their gazes in the direction of Qin Wentian's palace. They could sense that the astral energy descending from the heavens was extremely powerful. There's actually someone who condensed an astral soul. They were all extremely shocked. In the time realm, they clearly didn't believe that someone had broken through to the heavenly deity realm. Most probably, this person had condensed an 8th astral soul at the World Overlord realm. Powerful immortal senses gushed out, ignoring the distance between them. The immortal senses of several major characters directly landed on the palace Qin Wentian was in. At this moment, Qin Wentian didn't reveal his newly condensed astral soul. He opened his eyes and stood up. He could sense the immortal senses of these people landing on him as he silently sighed in his heart at how tyrannical the strength of these people were. His immortal sense wasn't able to cover such a great distance. Luckily, there weren't many immortal senses and they were only from major characters. It's actually him. After the immortal senses saw Qin Wentian, many people were shocked. Before this, Qin Wentian unleashed 13 Heavenheart mandates and insta-killed the genius world overlord of the Dragon Pool Manor, Long Yuan Haoyu. They naturally knew of him. But such an extraordinary world overlord actually hasn't condensed his 8th astral soul and only condensed it now. What did this mean? This meant that Qin Wentian hasn't been in the World Overlord realm for long. Also, when he condensed his 13 Heavenheart mandates earlier, he hadn't fused the newly condensed astral energy into them yet. They naturally understood what this meant. This meant that Qin Wentian could directly condense his World Heart and condense a Transcendental World Heart before he condensed a Heavenheart mandate. In that case, the reason why he condensed so many Heavenheart mandates wasn't because he wanted to waste time pursuing quantity. Rather, it was because he wanted to condense a Transcendental World Heart. The expression of Yu Changkong, who was currently occupying a Constellation Lord position in the constellation C, also froze. He turned his gaze towards the distance. Earlier, he sensed a familiar energy. That was the power of time. At their level of cultivation, their senses were extremely sharp. There was no way he would be wrong. At this moment, the power of time descended from the sky. Yu Changkong couldn't help but think of some things. After all, only he knew that when the Time King said, "I'll be waiting for you in the future," it wasn't meant for him. Right now, everyone thought that it was him and they were no longer curious. But as a fake, he wanted to know who the true inheritor of the Time King's inheritance was the most. He wanted to find that person, or he would feel very uncomfortable being stared at. That person must be mocking him in the dark, and he had no idea when he would be exposed. To him, this was a hidden danger. "What's wrong?" someone asked when he saw the strange expression on the big shots' faces. "Nothing much. It's just that the young world overlord who released 13 Heavenheart mandates just condensed an astral soul from his constellation." That person spoke in a low voice. "What? Isn't he already a transcendent level world overlord? He has only condensed his 8th constellation now." Someone had a strange look on his face. Seems like this young man's talent is truly impressive." That major character nodded. Many people started to discuss, and very soon, many people knew about this. In the direction of the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms, a major character from the Donghuang clan spoke to Dong Huangying, "Your judgment isn't bad. That Qingsheng Realm Lord has just condensed his 8th constellation. In the future, he would definitely have extraordinary accomplishments and might even have a place in the Mystic Region." How vast was the Mystic Region? If one could have a place in the Mystic Region, it meant that one would become a peak world overlord. This evaluation was already very high. "That's only natural." Dong Huangying smiled. "However, when compared to Yu Changkong, who obtained the Time King's inheritance, he is still slightly inferior. In the future, Yu Changkong might have a chance to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Sword Monarch. Do your best to maintain a good relationship with him." That major character spoke. "I know." Dong Huangying nodded. Xiao Yu, who was at the side, had a look of desolation on his face. He was the same as Yu Changkong. He was the first to step out and occupy one of the 4 constellation lords. But in the end, he was defeated and expelled by someone else. Yu Changkong was still there, radiating brilliance and unparalleled talent. Not only so, out of the 4 constellation lords, only Yu Changkong was kicked out. Yu Changkong, Bai Qingfeng, and Li Shao still occupied one of the 4 constellation lords. At the location Qin Wentian was at, he could sense several strands of immortal sense descending upon him. After that, they all retreated. However, in the airspace above the palace, a figure appeared. It was none other than that old man from the Heavenly Tao Sacred Academy. He smiled at Qin Wentian. "To think that you have only condensed your 8th astral soul. Given how powerful the astral energy fluctuations are, it should be a high-grade one. Can I ask what attribute it has?" Replying to Senior, "It's the time attribute." Qin Wentian replied. This wasn't considered a secret. In the future, he would have to use the time attribute sooner or later. If he admitted it now, no one would suspect anything. Time attribute, a very powerful law energy. However, it's also extremely hard to comprehend. "I didn't expect you to choose the time attribute," the old man mumbled. Qin Wentian smiled. "I've heard the rumors about the Time King. Earlier, I also saw the appearance of the 4-sided time monument inscription and knew that the Time King is a supreme expert who can travel to the past and the future. My heart was filled with reverence for him, and hence, I wanted to comprehend the time attribute energy. No wonder you didn't even bother to pay attention to the most exciting moments of the convention and chose to stay here to cultivate." The old man smiled and shook his head. "Are you not going to fight for a seat among the 4 constellation lords? The experts in the convention are as many as the clouds, and there are countless world overlords. I'll just take a look." Qin Wentian has already thought it through. He wouldn't participate in this in case he attracted the attention of the other hegemonic powers, especially the 3 hegemonic powers. "Your personality." The old man speechlessly shook his head. After that, his silhouette gradually turned illusory and vanished. After he left, many people came over. Mo Qingcheng, Qing'er, Princess Kitamura, and the others all came. Many people had smiles on their faces. Qin Wentian has finally condensed his 8th astral soul, and it was actually a time attribute one. Such an extraordinary astral soul was extremely rare. In fact, they had never sensed such an astral soul in the 9 heavenly layers before. Most probably, it should be in the higher heavenly layers. Why are all of you looking at me like that? Qin Wentian couldn't help but to shrug and smile when he saw the gazes of everyone. Wentian Gige, you have comprehended the time attribute energy. In the future, would you be able to create a world similar to the time realm, changing the flow of time? In that case, we would be able to save a lot of time when we cultivate there. Bai Qing laughed lightly. Qin Wentian rolled his eyes. I just condensed an astral soul, how can I be so powerful? Bai Qing giggled when she heard this. She stared at her Wentian Gige, who was getting more and more outstanding. Do you guys want to go to the convention to take a look? Right now, the Ziwei Divine Court, Great Devil Divine Palace and Heavenly Deity Mountain all have good fortune descending, and it's extremely lively there. Although we can't participate, I can bring you guys there to take a look. Qin Wentian spoke. With him by their side, there was no need to worry about any accidents happening to them. The Dragon Pool Manor feared Lei and wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Qin Wentian also didn't have any other enemies. Right, I also want to go there to take a look. The Southern Phoenix matriarch spoke in a light voice. She was very interested in the battles between transcendent-level world overlords. It was just that it wasn't appropriate for her to take the initiative to ask Qin Wentian to bring her there. Now that Qin Wentian's cultivation base was getting higher and higher, she had to step into the world overlord realm as soon as possible. Many people nodded in agreement. Qin Wentian smiled. He brought everyone and came to the central area of the time realm. They sat down at a place not far away from the Heavenly Deity Mountain and quietly watched. Qingqing Realm Lord. Many people glanced in the direction of Qin Wentian. They already knew that earlier, Qin Wentian condensed his 8th astral soul after he stepped into the world overlord realm. Many people's gazes were now different when they looked at him. The gazes of the Dragon Pool Manor were naturally cold. The more outstanding Qin Wentian was, the more unhappy they were. However, Qin Wentian and his group kept a low profile. They only watched the battles on the Devil Battle platform and in the Constellation Ocean. Regardless of the battles between supreme experts or young world overlords, they were all so powerful that it caused people to sigh in amazement. This was especially so for the Devil Battle platform. The scene there was simply too terrifying. However, it was rare to see a battle on that platform even after a few days. After some time, 10 Miles Springwind, Old Ghost and the other 3 exited the Heavenly Deity Mountain. Upon seeing Qin Wentian, who was staying in a remote corner, he immediately came over and asked, "You really don't intend to participate?" "That's right." Qin Wentian smiled and nodded. "What about you guys? Did you guys gain anything from the Heavenly Deity Mountain? There are many good things we can comprehend inside and we gain some benefits. However, we definitely can't compare to the 4 Constellation Lords in the Constellation Ocean or the #1 expert on the Devil Battle platform." 10 Miles Springwind spoke. "That's only natural. You guys have all come out." Dong Huangying also walked over. She smiled at everyone and after that, she spoke to Qin Wentian, "Brother Qin, the constellation light is shining on you. Why don't you go up and fight? He is going to challenge you Changkong. In that case, who do you hope to win?" 10 Miles Springwind stared at Dong Huangying with interest as he asked. "I'll be happy no matter who wins." Dong Huangying smiled. "Is that so?" 10 Miles Springwind smiled as he stared at Dong Huangying. He felt some suspicion. "Qingqing Realm Lord." At this moment, a voice rang out from the Constellation Ocean's host seat. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over as a strange expression appeared on his face. The person who spoke was actually Yu Changkong. "Before this, I saw the Qingqing Realm Lord unleashing 13 Heavenheart mandates. Now that the constellation light is also shining on Brother Qin, why don't you come up and spar with me?" Yu Changkong issued a challenge through the air. Qin Wentian started as his expression grew increasingly strange. Yu Changkong shouldn't be acquainted with him, right? Why did he take the initiative to challenge him? Dong Huangying was also astonished. After that, she glared angrily at Yu Changkong in the air. Brother Qin has no intention to participate. What are you doing? She thought that Yu Changkong issued a challenge to Qin Wentian because of her. If it wasn't for the fact that he had been paying attention to her, how could Yu Changkong speak up when they were talking about this? Clearly, Yu Changkong had heard their conversation. Yu Changkong was indeed paying attention to this. Naturally, the person he was paying attention to wasn't her. It was Qin Wentian instead. Because, he already learned from the conversations of the people below that the person who condensed his 8th astral soul was none other than Qin Wentian. That was a time-attributed astral soul and in addition to his 13 heaven heart mandates. In that case, could the person the Time King was waiting for be the Qingqing Realm Lord? The possibility of this was extremely high. Naturally, only he, Yu Changkong, would think this way. The others still felt that it was him. Chapter 1791. Qin Wentian felt a little puzzled. Yu Changkong was provoking him because he wanted to show off in front of Dong Huangying. But this is someone who wants you to go up. 10 Miles Spring Wind laughed. Chao Tian and the others glanced at Yu Changkong. This man was truly outstanding, but he made them feel that he was a hypocrite. In the past, he had always been concealing himself. But after he gained power, he instantly formed relationships with the various major powers and even had an ambiguous relationship with Dong Huangying. Right now, he wanted to trample on Qin Wentian and show off in front of Dong Huangying. However, although Dong Huangying was beautiful, Qin Wentian didn't have any feelings for her. He naturally wouldn't do something like this. He calmly glanced at Yu Changkong in the air and smiled. No need, I'll just watch. Little princess, I suggested to spar with Brother Qin because I admire his glory earlier. I have no other intentions. No matter who wins or loses, it's impossible to mask his magnificence. Yu Changkong explained to Dong Huangying. After that, he turned to Qin Wentian and smiled. Brother Qin has such talent, wouldn't it be a pity if he doesn't show it off? If this is the case, Brother Qin, you can consider it. Just like what he said, regardless of victory or defeat, it's impossible to mask his magnificence. Dong Huangying smiled. You guys are my friends, I won't interfere. Why does it sound strange? Regardless of victory or defeat, it's impossible to mask his magnificence. Are you consoling Brother Qin? Why do I feel that he would be defeated? 10 Miles Springwind spoke in a somewhat depressed manner. Qin Wentian casually smiled. Since it's impossible to mask his magnificence regardless of victory or defeat, why is there a need to compete? Since he made the decision not to participate, he wouldn't do so. Once he participated, he would surely attract the attention of the Ziwei Divine Court. At that time, he didn't know if he would be able to retreat unscathed. At that time, if the Ziwei Divine Court summoned him, should he go or not? What a pity, I still wanted to spar with Brother Qin. Yu Changkong's behavior was extremely refined and courteous. If it wasn't for the fact that Qin Wentian knew that Yu Changkong had pretended to be him and admitted that he had obtained the Time King's inheritance, Qin Wentian would really believe that Yu Changkong was a gentleman. Right now, the more Yu Changkong acted like this, the more he felt that Yu Changkong was a hypocrite. Sadly, it was useless even if he reminded Dong Huangying. Dong Huangying's background was extraordinary and she was the little princess of the Dong Huang clan. From this, one could very well imagine how lofty her status was. She had seen countless geniuses before and many of them wanted to fawn over her. Right now, after seeing a heaven chosen like Yu Changkong, it was inevitable that her heart would be moved. Just when Qin Wentian thought that this matter would end like this, Yu Changkong's gaze slowly turned over and landed on another person. After that, he smiled. Among the people attending the convention today, the person I want to challenge the most isn't Brother Qin. Instead, it's a guest from afar. When everyone heard Yu Changkong's words, their gazes all turned to him. Who did Yu Changkong want to challenge? The Luotian clan of the desolate region has always been my admiration. I didn't expect that I would be able to meet a guest from the Luotian clan in the Mystic Region's convention today. The Ziwei Divine Court released their constellation battle and I saw a goddess from the Luotian clan appearing in the world, radiating a resplendent light. Hence, I wish to spar with her and admire the glory of the Luotian clan. Yu Changkong slowly spoke. His gaze was fixed on Luo Shenlei from the Luotian clan. Luo Shenlei was also someone who was enveloped by the light of the constellation. She also had the qualifications to participate in the constellation battle. Yu Changkong's tone was still polite, praising Luo Shenlei for appearing in the world and expressing his admiration for the glory of the Luotian clan. However, there was another layer of meaning in his polite words. The Luotian clan was a peak power from the desolate region. In the future, if Yu Changkong was chosen by the Ziwei Divine Court, he would represent the Ziwei Divine Court. If he could defeat Luo Shenlei, wouldn't he have a greater chance of being chosen by the experts of the Ziwei Divine Court? This move contained a deeper meaning. Using the Luotian clan to elevate himself. It was no longer a secret that the Luotian clan of the desolate region appeared in the Convention of the Myriad Realms. Back then when Luo Shenlei threatened the Dragon Pool Manor, it was impossible for this matter to be concealed. Those major characters all knew about it but they pretended that they didn't know. After all, if they knew about this, what kind of attitude should they have towards the Luotian clan? Even if they were peak powers of the mystic region, they still didn't have the qualifications to speak on equal terms with the Luotian clan. If they wanted them to act arrogant, they wouldn't have the guts to do so. It was even more impossible for them to bow and kneel to the Luotian clan. What would the three hegemonic powers of the mystic region think of this? After all, this place was the convention of the myriad realms of the mystic region and the Luotian clan came from the desolate region. Qin Wentian's eyes suddenly gleamed with coldness. After Yu Changkong challenged him, he also challenged Luo Shenlei. What did this mean? Qin Wentian naturally understood this. Although everyone didn't mention the matter of the Luotian clan, it shouldn't be a secret that Luo Shenlei had helped him before. Those who were interested would know about this. In that case, did Yu Changkong know about this matter as well? If Yu Changkong knew that he challenged Luo Shenlei, would there be a deeper meaning behind it? Was Yu Changkong targeting him? No matter if there was or not, Yu Changkong's character caused Qin Wentian to feel increasingly sinister. Luo Shenlei also started. Clearly, she didn't expect that someone would challenge her. She originally didn't come to the mystic region for the convention of the myriad realms. She naturally didn't want to participate in the constellation battle held by the Ziwei Divine Court. She only wanted to observe the cultivation bases of the world overlords of the mystic region. She had always been low profile and only revealed her identity when she helped Qin Wentian. Did she reveal her identity as a member of the Luotian clan? Yu Changkong's words instantly made everything clear. Also, his polite words seemed to place himself in the perspective of the mystic region. It was like this battle wasn't just a personal one. It was also a competition between the geniuses of the mystic region and the Luotian clan of the desolate region. Her beautiful eyes stared at Yu Changkong. This person was truly scheming. Miss, there's no need for us to accept the challenge. We only need to find an excuse. The old man at the side transmitted his voiceover. Although Yu Changkong was scheming, his strength has already been proven. His young miss was still young, there was no need for her to participate in such a battle. However, Luo Shenlei didn't seem to hear his words. Her beautiful eyes were still staring at Yu Changkong. Since Yu Changkong already said this, could she still reject the challenge? Wouldn't the Luotian clan have the reputation of being a coward? I'm not a goddess, I'm just an ordinary member of the Luotian clan and can't represent the geniuses of the Luotian clan. But since you wish to spar with me, I'll accept your challenge. I've cultivated for over 400 years and I've never fought against a peak genius of the mystic region before. Luo Shenlei slowly spoke, even revealing her age. This caused many people to feel shock in their hearts. What terrifying cultivation talent! As expected of someone from the Luotian clan of the desolate region. She intentionally said that she was very ordinary because she didn't want to represent the Luotian clan. If not, if she was defeated, wouldn't the Luotian clan lose a lot of face? Many major characters silently nodded. This genius maiden of the Luotian clan was also extraordinary and had meticulous thoughts. Being able to fight against the goddess of the Luotian clan, it's my fortune of 3 lifetimes. Please. Yu Changkong was still as elegant as ever as he smiled. Luo Shenlei's silhouette flashed as she soared up into the air. Very soon, she appeared in the boundless constellation world in the constellation sea. Astral light revolved around her. She who was originally already extremely beautiful was like a goddess who descended from the heavens. At this moment, it felt like all the spiritual qi in the world was gathered around her. I heard that the Luotian clan is the god of all demons and all demons submit to you. They all have an extremely powerful innate talent, the ability to nurture gods. Today, I finally have the fortune to experience it for myself. Yu Changkong spoke. Clearly, he had a deep understanding of the Luotian clan. He even knew about the innate talent of nurturing gods. Although I've broken through to the World Overlord realm, my foundation isn't stable and the time I spent breaking through is still too short. I have no way to unleash the true potential of my innate talent. In the future, if you have the chance to spar with a true genius of my clan, you will know the true talent of my Luotian clan. However, you might not be qualified to do so. Luo Shenlei calmly spoke. Ha! Yu Changkong laughed uproariously. In that case, I'll wait and see. Today, I shall temporarily witness the glory of a goddess. Please. Luo Shenlei didn't say anything more. Her long hair fluttered in the wind as a bright light radiated from her. She was like a true goddess. Her entire body was enveloped by a layer of holy light as her aura soared madly. A resplendent demon god painting appeared in the constellation space, enveloping her within. Within the demon god painting, there were many saint beasts that exuded terrifying auras. My world heart, moon god radiance. Yu Changkong spoke. As the sound of his voice faded, the power of his world heart and innate heaven heart mandate gushed forth. A desolate moonlight descended, directly shooting towards the space where Luo Shenlei was at. The moonlight cascaded down, directly locking onto Luo Shenlei's body. In his heart domain, a formless and powerful imprisonment energy manifested, causing everything to be unable to move. This has already surpassed the scope of spatial imprisonment. In Yu Changkong's world heart, everything seemed to have come to a standstill. Luo Shenlei felt that she wanted to move but a terrifying energy was sucking her in. The formless light unceasingly bore down on her, each beam of light was like a prison, locking her down. Bzz. A beam of light shot over, faster than lightning, directly shooting towards Luo Shenlei. Luo Shenlei's eyes flashed with sharpness. In an instant, a gigantic divine turtle appeared and spat out a terrifying screen of light, transforming into an extremely powerful protective energy. The moonlight continued to rain down, landing on the divine turtle, wanting to lock it down. Luo Shenlei's expression didn't change. With a thunderous roar, another terrifying phoenix manifested in her world heart. It breathed out at Yu Changkong as Yu Changkong's body directly vanished from his original location. The space he was in turned into ashes and in another location, a part of Yu Changkong's sleeves was incinerated into nothingness. The talent of the Luotian clan truly lives up to its reputation. Yu Changkong slowly spoke. Before him, a flying serpent appeared. At this moment, his body felt like it was about to transform into an ice sculpture, directly frozen. This entire space was enveloped by the demon god painting. Greater demons unceasingly appeared and each of the saint beasts in the painting seemed to be able to fight for Luo Shenlei. In addition, all of them had their own demon heaven heart mandates. This also indicated that Luo Shenlei could use many types of heaven heart mandates. This was the talent of the Luotian clan. It was extremely terrifying. Everyone in the surroundings sighed in admiration. Luo Shenlei has only cultivated for over 400 years. If she grew stronger in the future, her talent would surely grow more and more powerful. Chapter 1792. It's rumored that when the talent of the Luotian clan's spirit-rearing talent reaches a certain level, they would be able to summon demon gods to protect them. At that time, how terrifying would that be? Also, everyone's talent was different. It was extremely difficult to cultivate and one had to have extremely high comprehension abilities. The so-called spirit-rearing talent referred to rearing demon gods. The strength of each spirit-rearing talent would depend on the cultivation talent of the master. Luo Shenlei hasn't been in the world overlord realm for a long time. Although she had the talent of spirit-rearing and was extremely powerful, her world heart was still weak. Her original body was sealed and was stuck to her original location, unable to move. If it wasn't for the fact that she had an innate advantage, she would have long since been defeated. I heard that the cultivation of the spirit-rearing talent requires an extremely long period of time. Each spirit-rearing talent has to depend on the master's comprehension. Although Goddess's talent is extraordinary, your cultivation base is still weak. These spirit-rearing talents might have heaven heart mandates, but they are all a little weak. Yu Changkong's voice rang out in the air, sounding extremely carefree. At this moment, Yu Changkong's body radiated an incomparably resplendent light. The entire space here was filled with a supremely powerful moonlight, desolate and cold. With Yu Changkong as the center, the entire space was in a state of stillness. The rearing deities were also enveloped by the moonlight, unable to move. World heart suppression. Everyone silently mused when they saw this scene. Yu Changkong clearly had an absolute advantage in terms of world heart when facing Luo Shenlei. Since his world heart could suppress Luo Shenlei, the ending of the battle was already determined. "I'll have to offend you then." Yu Changkong spoke. He waved his hand elegantly as the spirit-rearing talents in the air directly exploded. They basically couldn't block his tyrannical attack. Luo Shenlei wanted to retreat but she discovered that she was trapped in a formless prison. In this entire world, she was the only person, trapped within that absolute power. "Stay your hand." At this moment, a shout rang out from below. After that, Luo Shenlei groaned in pain as a beam of light directly blasted into her body, causing her to cough out a mouthful of blood in the air. The old man from the Luoshan clan flashed and appeared beside her. However, Luo Shenlei waved her hand and stopped him. She stared at Yu Changkong with a cold expression. "The Luoshan clan of the desolate region? From what I've seen today, it seems that they are merely a so-so. I hope I'll have a chance to meet even stronger characters in the future." Yu Changkong calmly spoke, exuding the might he exuded after defeating a world overlord from the Luoshan clan of the desolate region. His radiance grew even more dazzling and resplendent. Also, he was completely different from how he usually was. His arrogant tone was filled with disdain for the Luoshan clan. Before this, when Yu Changkong fought against the geniuses of the other hegemonic powers of the mystic region, he would show mercy and not injure his opponents. But now, when facing the Luoshan clan of the desolate region, he actually acted out of character, injuring Luo Shenlei and even saying that the Luoshan clan is merely a so-so. Someone silently mused when he saw this scene. However, they soon understood. Yu Changkong was trying to gain a favorable impression from the Ziwei Divine Court. If he was accepted into the Ziwei Divine Court, he would gain a lot of face by defeating a world overlord from the Luoshan clan of the desolate region. Although the Luoshan clan would be unhappy about this, it was impossible for the Luoshan clan to take revenge because of this. For a transcendent power like the Luoshan clan, they couldn't afford to lose so much face. It was possible for them to let a world overlord from the younger generation take revenge. Luo Shenlei's expression turned cold when she heard Yu Changkong's words. Yu Changkong was intentionally using her to raise his own prestige, constantly emphasizing the Luoshan clan. Although she knew that such an ending might happen, it was impossible for her to avoid a battle. Yu Changkong had already pointed out the Luoshan clan. Even if she was defeated, she had to fight. This was her attitude. At this moment, Qin Wentian's eyes were exceptionally cold. He stared at Yu Changkong in the air as a cold intent radiated from him. Even a genius from the Luoshan clan was easily defeated. Yu Changkong's talent is simply incomparable. Dong Huangying spoke in a light voice. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a bright light as she stared at the figure in the air. Merely a shameless vile character. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. His words caused Dong Huangying, who was immersed in joy, to stiffen. She turned her head and stared at Qin Wentian. Brother Qin, I know this fairy from the Luotian clan has helped you before. But Yu Changkong defeated her fair and square. There's no need for you to humiliate him like this, right? Yu Changkong seemed to have heard Qin Wentian's voice. He turned his gaze over and smiled at Qin Wentian. Brother Qin, why are you slandering me? Elder brother, have you forgotten the agreement between us? If I'm defeated, so be it. There's no need to stand out for me. Luo Shenlei's voice rang out. She didn't want others to know that her relationship with Qin Wentian was too close. She didn't want people to investigate this matter. Qin Wentian's identity was still a little sensitive. Hence, Luo Shenlei intentionally reminded Qin Wentian not to stand out. Before this, I have a treasure with Miss Luoshan on me. Hence, I'm acquainted with her and didn't mind her identity. Qin Wentian slowly spoke to Dong Huangying. It's just that it's fine if Yu Changkong took the initiative to challenge her. But why did he keep emphasizing the fact that the Luoshan clan is merely a so-so? Before this, Yu Changkong didn't injure a single person, but now, he actually injured a young maiden. Using such a method to trample on others to raise his own status, isn't this shameless? Little princess, you have to look at people more clearly. As for Yu Changkong's words, Qin Wentian directly ignored them. I've always respected Brother Qin, but I didn't expect Brother Qin to slander me like this. I wonder when have I offended Brother Qin? Yu Changkong was still as polite as ever. That's right, Yu Changkong has always respected you. Even if your relationship with Miss Luoshan isn't bad, you shouldn't slander and humiliate others because of this, right? This is clearly Brother Qin's fault. Why didn't I see it clearly? Dong Huangying spoke up for Yu Changkong. I have no intention to guess Brother Qin's thoughts. It's just that Brother Qin is so biased and didn't participate in the constellation battle. Could it be that you already have a good place to go? Yu Changkong, who was in the air, calmly spoke. After that, the eyes of everyone flashed. Yu Changkong's words clearly hinted that Qin Wentian might go to the Luoshan clan of the desolate region. Could it be that he wanted to marry into the Luoshan clan? As expected of a despicable person. Qin Wentian glanced at Yu Changkong. He lied to everyone and obtained the Time King's recognition before getting close to Dong Huangying. But now, he was actually using such thoughts to judge him. Yu Changkong defeated the young geniuses of the Luoshan clan and is extremely heroic. What do you mean by insulting him? Could it be that you are preparing to leave the mystic region? Someone directly spoke. The person who spoke was none other than an expert from the Dragon Pool Manor who had a grudge against the Luoshan clan and Qin Wentian. Little friend Qin's words are too biased. What's there to nitpick about Yu Changkong's performance today? A powerful world overlord from the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms also spoke. The Eastern Royal Immortal Realms was a vassal of the Ziwei Divine Court, and Yu Changkong might very well become a disciple of the Ziwei Divine Court. In addition, Yu Changkong's relationship with Dong Huangying was extraordinary. He naturally had to speak up for Yu Changkong. Qin Wentian didn't expect that by standing out to criticize Yu Changkong, he would instead become the target of public criticism. One couldn't help but say that during these days, Yu Changkong's efforts weren't wasted. Also, because of his dazzling talent and the inheritance of the Time King, many people still spoke up for Yu Changkong despite their hearts being like a mirror. Many of you are major characters of your respective powers. Let me ask all of you. If I defeat a world overlord from your powers, would I have a reason to openly mock the powers you all are from? If that's the case, what would everyone think? Would you feel that I'm arrogant? Qin Wentian calmly spoke, ignoring the pressure from all directions. Although Luo Shenlei told him not to stand up for her, he still couldn't endure it. He loathed Yu Changkong more and more. Yu Changkong's world heart is clearly stronger compared to Miss Luoshan. His cultivation base is more stable and he has cultivated for a longer period of time. Bullying a person who is clearly weaker than him, and after defeating him, he became arrogant and even mocked the Luoshan clan. In the future, if Yu Changkong has a chance to join a hegemonic power of our mystic region, wouldn't he be mocking the mystic region for having no experts? Qin Wendian continued, for people of our generation, no matter where we come from, we still have to respect the hegemonic powers of the various regions. If we act so arrogantly just because of a single victory, we would only be mocked by others. I don't believe that Yu Changkong doesn't understand this. But earlier, he was humble, but now, he is doing this intentionally. This is simply because he wants to use the Luotian clan to raise his status. If he isn't a despicable person, what is he? What a joke. Yu Changkong challenged you, but you didn't dare to accept. Now, you are mocking others. Don't forget that Yu Changkong has obtained the inheritance of the Time King. Who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have to speak so arrogantly here? What a despicable person. Do you guys believe his words? I can also say that I've obtained the inheritance of the Time King. Would you guys believe me? Qin Wendian mocked. He truly wanted to expose Yu Changkong right here and now. Ha, I've participated in many conventions of the myriad realms, but this is the first time I've heard such a laughable thing. Someone laughed uproariously. Could it be that Yu Changkong dared to lie to everyone in the mystic region? As for Qin Wendian saying that he obtained the inheritance of the Time King, to everyone, it was merely a joke to belittle Yu Changkong. Dong Huangying's expression became extremely unsightly. She stared at Qin Wendian. Brother Qin, I've always respected you and treated you as a friend. I didn't expect you to act like this. How disappointing. Qin Wendian glanced at Dong Huangying. Before this, Dong Huangying wanted to rope him in because of his talent. But now, she clearly trusted Yu Changkong completely. This was because she saw a higher value in Yu Changkong. The word friend was a little too cheap. If Dong Huangying truly treated him as a friend, she would carefully consider his words. It wasn't hard for her to understand some logic. Right now, she kept feeling that he was in the wrong because the person standing opposite to Qin Wendian was Yu Changkong. If she had to choose between the two of them, she would naturally choose Yu Changkong, this so-called successor of the Time King. Since we walk different paths, we can't make plans together. Little princess, please do as you wish. Qin Wendian didn't want to say anything more and directly spoke. Dong Huangying stared at Qin Wendian and coldly snorted. After that, she turned and left. Chapter 1793. Dong Huangying returned to the crowd of the Donghuang clan. Her expression was extremely unsightly. She had always treated Qin Wendian with respect, but she didn't expect Qin Wendian to be so despicable, slandering Yu Changkong. When she thought back to that day when Qin Wendian reminded her that Yu Changkong's character was problematic, it seemed that Qin Wendian was truly jealous of Yu Changkong, snatching away his limelight. If not, why didn't he dare to accept Yu Changkong's challenge to Qin Wendian earlier? I've misjudged. Dong Huangying spoke with some anger. Little princess, I feel that Brother Qin's words aren't without logic. Did you not discover that Yu Changkong did this intentionally? If not, why would he only injure the maidens of the Luotian clan and even belittle them? Xiao Yu, who was at the side, spoke in a low voice. Dong Huangying glanced at Xiao Yu as her expression turned even colder. Are you also jealous that Yu Changkong can still stand there while you were blasted down? Xiao Yu's expression instantly turned pale. He stared with disbelief at this beautiful young woman whom he was acquainted with for so many years. Their relationship was very good, and even if the little princess really liked someone else, their friendship would still exist. He didn't expect that she would directly humiliate him like this. At this moment, Xiao Yu felt a little disheartened. Little Yu, don't mind her. Little Ing was just angry for a moment. An old man from the Donghuang clan spoke. Yu Changkong's talent is extraordinary, and he has also obtained the inheritance of the Time King. He has always been arrogant and has been suppressing his pride until he defeated the experts from the Luotian clan. So what if he is a little arrogant? Which genius wouldn't be arrogant? Xiao Yu nodded lightly and didn't say anything. However, he was already filled with disappointment in his heart. Seems like the elders of the Donghuang clan also supported Yu Changkong. Who asked Yu Changkong to obtain the Time King's inheritance? Even the Time King left behind a message saying that he would wait for Yu Changkong in the future. For such a character, even hegemonic-level world overlords would have to show him some respect. In addition, given the attitude Yu Changkong displayed to Dong Huangying, the Dong Huang clan would definitely support them being together. As for Xiao Yu, what could he count as? Now, you can see her attitude, right? Before this, I already said that if Wendian fought against Yu Changkong, her reply was extremely fake. 10 Miles Springwind laughed. He wasn't too disappointed. His judgment of people has always been very accurate and he has seen many people like Dong Huangying before. Hence, this didn't affect his mood at all. He is merely a world overlord and hasn't become a sword monarch. Everyone, there's no need to be so eager to form good relationships with him. No matter what, he is a character with status in the mystic region. Why don't you give yourself some face? Chao Tian didn't care about so much and directly rebuked those who spoke up for Yu Changkong earlier. Qin Wendian felt some warmth in his heart. Right now, many major characters in the convention all supported Yu Changkong. Dong Huangying's attitude could also be seen clearly. Only these friends who robbed the Dragon Pool Manor together with Qin Wendian still stood by his side. Sometimes, they would joke around and curse each other. Wasn't this true friendship? For such things, there was no need to intentionally do so. On the contrary, what Qin Wendian had said about the inheritance of the Lord of Time was ignored. This sentence caused no one to think too much about it. Clearly, it was said out of anger and was intentionally belittling Yu Changkong. But who would have thought that this casual sentence was actually the truth? The only person who had some suspicions was that hegemonic-level world overlord from the Tiandao Sacred Academy. He had always been paying attention to Qin Wendian. Earlier when Qin Wendian condensed his 8th astral soul, he had personally arrived and asked Qin Wendian what was his law attribute. Qin Wendian replied that it was the time attribute, and because he heard the legend of the God King of Time, he decided to condense a time-attributed astral soul. However, the time-attributed astral soul was extremely powerful. Could such an astral soul be condensed so casually? Did he suddenly go to condense it because he felt something? Qin Wendian didn't participate in this battle. Was he intentionally hiding something? Did his unintentional words just now reveal something? Strength is the best method to prove everything. If not, no matter how logical your words are, you still wouldn't have the authority to speak. The voice of the old man from the Tiandao Sacred Academy rang out in Qin Wendian's mind. He then transmitted his voice to Qin Wendian. Why don't you participate in the constellation battle? I don't think you are afraid of losing and losing face. The Ziwei Divine Court is a peak power in the mystic region and is truly extraordinary. Do you have any misgivings? Qin Wendian started when he heard this. He glanced in the direction of the old man from the Tiandao Sacred Academy and replied, Senior, Junior is used to freedom and doesn't like to be restricted. If I become a disciple of a major power, I will definitely listen to their orders. You mean that you don't want to join a peak power in the mystic region? Hence, you are intentionally avoiding contact with the Ziwei Divine Court? That expert spoke, feeling somewhat strange in his heart. This fellow was truly interesting. You can put it that way. Qin Wendian didn't hide anything. He still had some favorable impression of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Hence, he spoke frankly. In any case, even if these words were to spread out, it wouldn't be a big deal. Don't worry about it. If your performance is truly outstanding and attracted the attention of the Ziwei Divine Court, you can say that you want to go to the Tiandao Sacred Academy for cultivation. The people of the Ziwei Divine Court wouldn't force you. Naturally, the Tiandao Sacred Academy wouldn't restrict you. If you want to go, you can do so. If you don't, it's fine. The old man laughed as he transmitted his voiceover. Qin Wendian's eyes flashed. Given the old man's status, it was naturally impossible for him to intentionally lie to him. In that case, the old man must truly have the confidence that the Ziwei Divine Court wouldn't interfere in the matters of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The two of them communicated via voice transmission in an instant. On the other side, Yu Changkong has been watching everything from his seat in the Constellation Lord's seat. His expression was still as carefree as ever, exuding an extraordinary aura. Countless world overlords in the convention saw everything. They were all thinking that although Qin Wentian was a supreme character, when compared to the inheritor of the Time King, he was clearly weaker. The people of the various powers naturally knew who they should support. I don't wish to explain everything Brother Qin has said. But since Brother Qin insulted and slandered me like this, no matter what the reason is, I can only request for another battle. Yu Changkong calmly spoke. This casual sentence was the most domineering declaration. No matter what Qin Wentian said, he wouldn't refute it and would settle it with a single battle. Strength was above everything else. Many people stared at Qin Wentian with interest, waiting to see him make a fool of himself. Should he reject the battle again? If that was the case, everything he said earlier would only be asking for humiliation. He simply wouldn't have the face to remain in the time realm. I will grant you your wish. Qin Wentian stepped out, flying towards the constellation sea. In an instant, constellation light enveloped his body. His white robes and long hair fluttered in the wind, in addition to his handsome features. Even for those who were unhappy with Qin Wentian, they couldn't help but to admit that this young man was extraordinary. Don't forget that back then, he once displayed 13 Heavenheart mandates and insta-killed the Heaven Chosen of the Dragon Pool clan, Long Yuan Haoyu. It's just that right now, the opponent standing before him was countless times stronger compared to Long Yuan Haoyu. This was a true peak-level world overlord, Yu Changkong. Yu Changkong has already experienced many battles. His world heart, the radiance of the moon, contained a supremely powerful sealing ability, capable of causing the entire space to freeze. His Heavenheart mandate attacks were tyrannical to the extreme, their speed was inconceivably fast and they were extremely powerful. Brother Qin, make your move. If not, if I release my world heart, I'm afraid Brother Qin wouldn't have a chance to act anymore. Yu Changkong smiled. This is the true you. There's no need to mask your arrogance. After experiencing so many battles, you have to appear humble and magnanimous after every battle. Are you tired? Qin Wentian stared at Yu Changkong as he spoke. Ha, since Brother Qin says this, I can only be arrogant for a while. Yu Changkong laughed uproariously. As the sound of his voice faded, his world heart and innate Heavenheart mandate were released together. In an instant, that desolate light enveloped Qin Wentian, as well as this entire space, sealing everything. Qin Wentian only felt his entire body turning still. This Heavenheart mandate, could it be that the source origin of time was infused within? Maybe. At this instant, Qin Wentian's world heart was released. The power of his Heavenheart mandate enveloped this vast space. Qin Wentian's aura suddenly changed. Even though he was sealed, he was still like a divinity, the ruler of this world. This was Qin Wentian's world heart. His will was like the will of the heavens, no one could defy it. At this moment, Qin Wentian could sense a killing intent. This killing intent originated from Yu Changkong's world heart. Yu Changkong wanted to kill him. This caused Qin Wentian's eyes to flash with coldness. There shouldn't be a huge grudge between him and Yu Changkong, right? Was it because he said that Yu Changkong was shameless earlier that Yu Changkong wanted to kill him? In that case, wouldn't all the pretense Yu Changkong put up before this be seen through? Or could it be that there were other reasons he didn't know of? In truth, the true reason was that Yu Changkong suspected that Qin Wentian was the person the Time King was waiting for. Hence, if Yu Changkong killed Qin Wentian, no one would know of this secret forever. Numerous attacks that were faster than lightning shot out from the void, containing incomparably tyrannical might, directly penetrating Qin Wentian's body. Just when the tyrannical attacks were about to penetrate Qin Wentian's body, at this moment, Qin Wentian's body seemed to have moved. He was retreating with extreme speed. That incomparably tyrannical attack stopped before him, unable to hit him. He didn't move. The eyes of everyone flashed. Qin Wentian's body didn't move at all. However, that attack seemed to have no way to get near him, unable to land on him. It felt like it was so close, yet so far away. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with a terrifying coldness. In the next instant, a terrifying beam of light shot out from the void, directly appearing around Yu Changkong, wanting to penetrate his body. It was so fast that there was basically no way to block it. However, Yu Changkong's radiance was incomparably resplendent. When the attack was about to land on him, it would involuntarily halt, unable to advance any further. At the instant the two of them clashed, the eyes of many world overlords gleamed with sharpness. How powerful these two were. Their methods were similar, but they were completely different types of energy. Their world hearts and innate heaven heart mandates were both extremely powerful. Qin Wentian was imprisoned, but his opponent's attack couldn't even touch him. Yu Changkong stood there, the terrifying attack that shot out from the void would stop when it neared him. In that case, both of them had extraordinary world hearts. Who was stronger exactly? Chapter 1794. The battle between Qin Wentian and Yu Changkong was the focus of attention in the convention. Even the geniuses of the other three constellation lords were paying close attention to this battle. As for Dong Huangying, Luo Shenlei, and the others, there was naturally no need to say anything. Yu Changkong's world heart is able to lock down everything. It's like a frozen space. It's impossible for any attacks to get close to him. It's undoubtedly a fool's dream for Qin Wentian to win against him. Dong Huangying coldly spoke. Even now, she still felt resentment in her heart. She was extremely unhappy with Qin Wentian. Luo Shenlei glanced at Dong Huangying coldly. Although she didn't wish for Qin Wentian to act, since the two of them were fighting now, she naturally hoped that Qin Wentian would be able to win. You can't move your body, how can you fight against me? Although your heaven heart mandate is strong, it's impossible for you to even get close to me, let alone defeat me. At this moment, Yu Changkong spoke from afar. In the constellation Sea, the distance between him and Qin Wentian was extremely far. But given how powerful world overlords were, their attacks could envelop an entire region of space. In my world heart, do you really think you can restrict me? Ignorant. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, he directly vanished from his original location and appeared in another direction. Yu Changkong frowned, this was a slap to his face. He coldly snorted. The light beam descended once more, wanting to lock down Qin Wentian. But at the next moment, Qin Wentian vanished again. It was like he didn't move, but rather, it was like he ignored the distance between him and Qin Wentian. Yu Changkong's expression was extremely cold. He stepped forward, yet he only saw Qin Wentian coldly staring at him. When his eyes opened and closed, the entire world seemed to change. Qin Wentian's aura suddenly changed. He was like a divinity. A formless energy directly bore down on Yu Changkong. At this moment, Yu Changkong felt his body being locked to the spot, he had no way to move. He frowned. He who was proficient in sealing energy was actually locked down by Qin Wentian. In my world heart, my will is the heavens, surpassing everything. Qin Wentian said proudly, like an unreachable god. His body was surrounded by dazzling light, as if he was invincible. Lightning of light and darkness tore through space, like the most terrifying destructive energy in the world, shooting towards Yu Changkong. A thunderous boom rang out, Yu Changkong's body shone resplendently, causing the attack to stop. The entire space was filled with a desolate killing intent. It felt like there was a boundless killing intent traversing through the void, penetrating through everything as it shot towards Yu Changkong, wanting to tear the space he was in apart. Numerous beams of light shot out, ignoring all defenses, wanting to land on Qin Wentian's body. At this instant, all sorts of killing arts appeared in the constellation Sea, exploding forth ferociously. These were all attacks from Qin Wentian's heaven heart mandate, incomparably violent and endless. In his world heart, he could control everything. With a single thought, the killing energy from his heaven heart mandate would fill the entire space. In an instant, the initiative changed hands. Yu Changkong became extremely passive and had to endure the never-ending barrage of attacks. Dong Huangying's expression changed. At this moment, a gigantic full moon rose from Yu Changkong's body. The desolate intent gushed forth once more, wanting to envelop this entire space. This full moon radiated boundless moonlight, causing the entire space to enter a state of stillness. All the attacks stopped, they were enveloped by the power of the full moon, unable to move. Moon eclipse. Yu Changkong spoke. In an instant, an incomparable moonlight radiated from him, absorbing all the energy in the surroundings. The boundless killing energy in the surroundings was instantly absorbed into the full moon, vanishing from sight. The Yu Changkong at this moment was like a god of the moon, someone that couldn't be profaned. The vast space froze. Everywhere the moonlight passed by, the flow of space seemed to have stopped. How powerful, this should be Yu Changkong's peak strength. Someone sighed in admiration. As expected of a genius who obtained the inheritance of the Time Monarch. The Time King is waiting for him in the future. This convention of the myriad realms this time around, we will be witnessing the rise of another character like the Sword Monarch. Although I didn't participate in the convention of the Sword Monarch back then, I'm sure his strength is only at this level, right? Many major characters praised. Such power, when used by a young world overlord, truly caused everyone to sigh in admiration. Upon hearing the praises of many people, Dong Huangying's furrowed brows relaxed. A smile appeared on her face as her beautiful eyes gleamed with a hint of adoration. The light of a firefly is ultimately unable to compete against the radiance of the moon. Dong Huangying was the first to speak, feeling even more complacent. Comparing Qin Wentian to a firefly and Yu Changkong to the bright moon, she felt that this description was extremely appropriate. Back then, Sword Monarch was 10 times more powerful than him. Old Ghost coldly mocked. These people have never seen the Sword Monarch of the past before. Now that they saw a genius, they immediately compared Qin Wentian to Sword Monarch. This was simply ridiculous. Characters that could become heavenly deities, how could they be compared so easily? If that was the case, wouldn't there be many heavenly deities appearing? Only those who could trample all geniuses beneath their feet would have the chance to become heavenly deities. Yu Changkong's eyes were cold as he stared at Qin Wentian. He was like a lofty god peering down at the masses as he coldly spoke, "Is this your world heart? It's merely a so-so. However, it's already not bad for you to be able to persist until now. Next, it's time for the battle to end." The moonlight grew increasingly resplendent, illuminating this entire world. Qin Wentian was also enveloped by the moonlight, appearing incomparably tiny. All of Qin Wentian's attacks couldn't even withstand a single strike from the moonlight as they directly vanished into nothingness. The so-called heavenly fate world heart is nothing more than a joke. Yu Changkong coldly spoke. The moonlight bore down on Qin Wentian, wanting to freeze him. A desolate killing intent gushed forth, this feeling was so clear. Slash! When the moonlight descended, Yu Changkong roared. A moonlight blade slashed out, slashing apart space, wanting to destroy Qin Wentian. But at this moment, Qin Wentian's body seemed to disappear into nothingness. When the killing intent vanished, he reappeared and was still standing at his original location. This caused Yu Changkong to frown. This Qin Wentian was truly tenacious enough. His Heaven Heart mandate truly had many methods. But the ending wouldn't change. He was then the true God King of the Mystic Region, a future monarch character. The God King of Time had misjudged him. Do you know what heavenly fate is? The silent Qin Wentian suddenly spoke, his words causing Yu Changkong to frown. He didn't understand Qin Wentian's words. Qin Wentian's world heart was named Heavenly Fate World Heart. It was named by an expert from the Tiandao Sacred Academy for him. What did Qin Wentian mean by asking this? Heavens will cannot be defied. Qin Wentian's lips trembled as he spoke once more. The instant the sound of his voice rang out, Yu Tianming only felt a terrifying sense of danger in the surrounding space. It was as though an extremely powerful energy was being brewed within him. Qin Wentian's fist at this moment shone with an incomparably resplendent light. The energy of the entire space frenziedly flowed into his palm. At this instant, the energy of the entire world seemed to be connected to his fist. His heavenly fate world heart seemed to want to fuse together with his innate technique. Yu Changkong had the power of a lunar eclipse, fusing his heaven heart mandate with his innate technique, allowing him to unleash a supremely powerful attack. How could Qin Wentian not have such an ability? Break! Qin Wentian punched out. At this instant, this punch seemed to represent the will of heaven's will. It couldn't be defied. It directly pierced through space, ignoring all energy as it bore down on the location where Yu Changkong was at. In an instant, the space there seemed to explode. Yu Changkong's expression drastically changed. He hurriedly retreated as his full moon shone with an incomparable radiance. Boom! A thunderous boom rang out as the full moon directly disintegrated, vanishing into nothingness. However, the might of that fist didn't dissipate. It wanted to shatter Yu Changkong's body into nothingness. In an instant, a terrifying storm gathered once more. The power of Qin Wentian's heaven heart mandate was like a primordial beast, frenziedly rushing towards Qin Wentian, wanting to devour Yu Changkong. At this moment, Yu Changkong had a feeling that Qin Wentian was right before his eyes. When he saw Qin Wentian lifting his fist again, Yu Changkong felt a sense of terror in his heart. It was like he could sense danger. The heavens and earth rumbled. Qin Wentian punched out again, penetrating through everything. At this instant, Yu Changkong's body glowed with a dazzling divine light, resembling the armor of the moon god, enveloping him. However, that tyrannical attack still blasted him into the ancient mountain far away. With a thunderous boom, Yu Changkong's body was smashed into the ancient mountain. At this moment, the expressions of everyone changed. It was an extremely fascinating scene. Qin Wentian didn't have time to care about the thoughts of everyone. He soared through the air, wanting to pursue. However, a figure directly appeared before Qin Wentian, blocking him. Victory and defeat have already been decided. Why must you be so overbearing? The person who acted was an expert from a subsidiary power of the Ziwei Divine Court. Although Qin Wentian defeated Yu Changkong, he still didn't want to see the successor of the ancient time king die here. Qin Wentian glanced at him and didn't say anything. He acted so ruthlessly because of Yu Changkong's killing intent. This person had killing intent towards him. However, since he was blocked by someone, he didn't persist. He glanced at the miserable figure who walked out from the ancient mountain. I'm merely an ordinary world overlord of a world in the mystic region. You can't even be compared to me. What qualifications do you have to judge the world? Before this, I refused to fight you because I felt disdain. Yet, you actually think that you are unrivaled in the mystic region? How laughable, ignorant, and not knowing the immensity of the heavens and earth. Qin Wentian mocked. Yu Changkong's expression turned ashen, but he had no way to retort. Because, he was defeated. At this moment, countless gazes turned to Qin Wentian. They initially thought that this victory would belong to Yu Changkong. He was the successor of the ancient time king and was extremely powerful. How could he be defeated? He should have suppressed Qin Wentian. But reality was like this. So what if Yu Changkong was the successor of the ancient time king? He was still defeated by the Qingqing realm lord. What was fate? Heaven's will was unquestionable. How imposing was this? In this convention of the mystic region this time around, just this battle alone caused everyone's hearts to tremble. Chapter 1795. The Time King's successor would also be defeated by the Qingqing realm lord. Before this, when Qin Wentian challenged him, Qin Wentian rejected. Many people thought that he didn't dare to accept the challenge. But now, how ridiculous was that? Qin Wentian had such a powerful force, how could he not dare to accept the challenge? It was just that they still didn't understand. Since he was so powerful, why was he so low profile and unwilling to display his brilliance? Qin Wentian was like this in the past as well. Back then when the Heaven Heart Mirror descended, many geniuses went up to display their prowess, but Qin Wentian didn't. It was only because of the grudge between him and the Dragon Pool Manor that he finally stood out during the battle against Long Yuan Haoyu. He unleashed 13 Heavenheart mandates, letting the convention of the myriad realms know of his existence. Right now, there seemed to be a sense of déjà vu. He didn't have the heart to participate in the battle. Yu Changkong provoked him twice, but he finally stepped out and defeated the Time King's successor. This caused many people to have strange thoughts. He was so dazzling. In that case, when the Ziwei Divine Court chose their successor, who would they choose between Qin Wendian and Yu Changkong? Awesome, this battle can finally make those people who spoke earlier shut up. All of them relied on their status in the mystic region to criticize me, thinking that I'm infallible. How about now? This slap on their faces is truly resounding. Chao Tian spoke. Before this, many people who helped Yu Changkong to insult Qin Wendian all shut up. This battle was truly a slap on their faces. I really want to know what the person who called himself a friend is thinking now. 10 Miles Spring Wind mocked. Many people turned their gazes to Dong Huangying. Dong Huangying's expression was extremely unsightly. This was truly a slap to her face. She kept saying that Qin Wendian was jealous of Yu Changkong, but what about now? Did Qin Wendian need to be jealous of Yu Changkong, who was weaker than him? If he was jealous, he would have long since fought to defeat Yu Changkong. However, if it wasn't for Yu Changkong provoking him twice, he might not even have fought. This was basically disregarding Yu Changkong. Dong Huangying's expression kept changing. It was extremely fascinating. The experts from the Donghuang clan also stared at the dazzling white-robed figure in the air. He exuded magnificence and defeated the successor of the Time King, Yu Changkong. He was one of the most dazzling young world overlords in this convention. But because of Yu Changkong, Dong Huangying chose to forsake their friendship and supported Yu Changkong with no hesitation. Was this worth it? So what if he obtained a temporary victory? He is Yu Changkong and has obtained the recognition of the God King. The God King even said that he would wait for him in the future. Although he lost this battle, he would still be able to make a comeback in the future and wash away this humiliation. Dong Huangying felt extremely complicated in her heart. In the end, she found a reason to console herself. Her relationship with Qin Wendian had already broken apart. She didn't want to regret her choice. Hence, she still firmly believed that a single defeat didn't mean anything. He was the successor of the Time King, and in the future, he would surely be more dazzling than Qin Wendian. This battle was merely a temporary victory. That was all there was to it. Qin Wendian didn't look at Dong Huangying. Since Dong Huangying has already made her choice, as the saying goes, those who walk different paths can't make plans together. From now on, they would just be strangers. There was no need for him to mock her. He once used the identity of a friend to persuade Dong Huangying to look at Yu Changkong clearly. If Dong Huangying truly had the heart, she should consider the words he said to her. She wanted to wait for a character like the Sword Monarch to appear before her and become her Dao companion. However, this was merely an unrealistic fantasy. It was impossible for Yu Changkong to become her Dao companion. Because, he had never obtained the Time King's inheritance. This was all a lie. Brother Qin's strength is extraordinary and your talent is outstanding. You are rarely seen in the mystic region. Yu Changkong, losing to you isn't an injustice. Although I spoke a lot of arrogant words earlier, it's unavoidable during times of war. Given Brother Qin's talent, you should have already occupied the position of a Constellation Lord. At this moment, Yu Changkong walked over. It was like the arrogant person who fought against Qin Wendian earlier wasn't him. This sudden change caused Qin Wendian to be stunned. He didn't regain his senses for a period of time. Earlier, this Yu Changkong was still exuding killing intent towards him. Such a sudden change, if one put it nicely, it meant that he was able to bow and submit when necessary. But if one put it bluntly, how shameless was this? The two words Brother Qin. How can a despicable person like you be qualified to address me in such a manner? Qin Wendian mocked. Ha, good. Since this is the case, I shall refer to myself as the Qingqing Realm Lord then. I will naturally remember my defeat today and remind myself that in the future, I will definitely fight you again to wash away the humiliation of today's battle. Yu Changkong calmly spoke. Good bearing. On the path of cultivation, who can remain undefeated for eternity? If you lose, you won't give up. At that time, you can make a comeback. A major character from the Donghuang clan spoke. How rare and commendable. A major character from the Donghuang clan spoke. That's right. He isn't like a certain someone who became so complacent after a single victory. Others respectfully address him as Brother Qin, but he was insulted as a despicable person instead. The disparity between them is obvious. Dong Huangning also spoke. She stood in Yu Changkong's position and naturally felt that whatever Yu Changkong did was right. Qin Wentian made her feel that a despicable person was intoxicated by success. Qin Wentian glanced at Dong Huangning as he silently shook his head. Seems like she has already fallen into his trap. Back then, he still thought that she was extremely intelligent and was proficient in using her advantage to win over the hearts of others. But now, she had fallen into Yu Changkong's trap. Naturally, it couldn't be said that Dong Huangning was stupid. She was indeed trying to win over the hearts of others. It was just that the person she was doing all she could to win over was Yu Changkong. She naturally wouldn't admit that she was wrong. How shameless. Chao Tian cursed in a low voice as a look of disgust appeared on his face. They were all people with status and prestige, it was inevitable for them to be so shameless. Earlier, Chao Tian was arrogantly humiliating Qin Wentian and now, he referred to him as Brother Qin. Could it be that Qin Wentian really had to treat him with respect? Could it be that Chao Tian couldn't see through Yu Changkong's disguise? If the one who won was Yu Changkong, would he still refer to him as Brother Qin? Most probably, he would continue to humiliate Qin Wentian. The Qingxing Realm Lord occupies the first Constellation Lord position, but there are still 3 more. Although I was defeated, I'm not willing to give up just like that. I still want to fight for it. Yu Changkong slowly spoke, his words causing Chao Tian and the others to start again. He truly wouldn't give up until he achieved his goal. Yu Changkong was going all out. No matter how others viewed him, he wanted to join the Ziwei Divine Court. Even if he was defeated, he didn't feel any shame at all. One could only say that this person's schemes were too deep. Shameless. Qin Wentian mocked. After that, he turned to everyone and spoke. Before this, I didn't want to fight because I didn't want to fight for the Constellation Lord position. There are countless geniuses in the mystic region. Qin, don't dare to claim that I'm unparalleled. I hope that the Constellation Lord position will be left to the truly dazzling geniuses. I'm willing to withdraw. Everyone was stunned when they heard this. Qin Wentian defeated Yu Changkong, but he actually didn't want to occupy the Constellation Lord position and enjoy the glory of being the center of attention. Instead, he wanted to withdraw. This truly caused everyone to be speechless. Given his strength and talent, it was very possible for him to become a disciple of the Ziwei Divine Court. Could it be that the Ziwei Divine Court didn't hold any attraction to him? Seems like there's really a good place to go. A strange voice rang out. It was none other than someone from the Dragon Pool Manor. Many people immediately glanced over in the direction of Luotian Lei. This was clearly hinting at the conjecture of everyone earlier. Qin Wentian wanted to leave the mystic region and head to the Luotian clan. Qin Wentian coldly glanced over. The Dragon Pool Manor had ulterior motives. If the Ziwei Divine Court knew of this, what would they think? Hee hee. Dong Huangning coldly laughed. How ridiculous. Qin Wentian mocked. At this moment, in the direction of the Tiandao Sacred Academy, that expert from the Dragon Pool Manor calmly spoke, everyone, no matter what, you are all characters with status and prestige in the mystic region. You all better watch your words. The expressions of many people flashed. A major character from the Tiandao Sacred Academy actually spoke up for Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian has fate with the Tiandao Sacred Academy. He once cultivated in the Tiandao Sacred Academy when he was in the lower world. After the convention of the Myriad Realms, he would also head to the Tiandao Sacred Academy for cultivation. Does anyone have any objections? That major character spoke again. This entire space instantly turned silent. Everyone was silent. The countenance of that expert from the Dragon Pool Manor alternated between shades of green and white. His face was smacked in public again. Qin Wentian wanted to enter the Tiandao Sacred Academy for cultivation. Would he dare to say that he had any objections? The Tiandao Sacred Academy was a transcendent power in the mystic region. Their disciples could be found all over the world. It wasn't a place their Dragon Pool Manor could afford to offend. If Qin Wentian wanted to head to the Tiandao Sacred Academy for cultivation, it was only normal that he didn't join the Ziwei Divine Court. The cultivation environment there wasn't any inferior compared to the Ziwei Divine Court. No wonder Qin Wentian didn't participate in the competition for the Constellation Lord position. So it turned out that he was already valued by the Tiandao Sacred Academy and would head to the Tiandao Sacred Academy for cultivation. Many people were enlightened, they understood everything. The people from the Donghuang clan were speechless. Dong Huangying shut her mouth, no one dared to question Qin Wentian anymore. The position of the Constellation Lord should be taken by another genius world overlord of the mystic region. Qin Wentian slowly spoke. His figure landed on the ground, causing many people to sigh in their hearts. There were countless world overlords in the convention. To many world overlords, the position of the Constellation Lord was an unreachable position. However, Qin Wentian actually gave it up so easily. The commotion caused by the competition between Qin Wentian and Yu Changkong, these two world overlords, temporarily came to an end. Very soon, there were people who went to the Constellation Lord position that Yu Changkong occupied earlier to continue accepting challenges. And just like what he said, Yu Changkong made a comeback and defeated another world overlord. Chao Tian and 10 Miles Springwind both silently cursed at how shameless Yu Changkong was. Even after being defeated, he still had the face to challenge Yu Changkong. If they were in Qin Wentian's shoes, they would want nothing more than to rush up and knock him down. However, Qin Wentian didn't have the mood to do so. He also wouldn't expose Yu Changkong. With Yu Changkong, a fake world overlord, the Ziwei Divine Court wouldn't pay attention to him. If it wasn't for Yu Changkong injuring Luo Shenlei, he wouldn't have stood out at all. Right now, it was naturally best for him to cultivate quietly. In the time realm, time flowed by. Many years had already passed. But according to the flow of time in the time realm, maybe only a few days had passed in the outside world. To cultivators, this was naturally a very good thing as they would have more time to cultivate. Sadly, they couldn't freely enter and exit the time realm. Today, there were no more battles on the Constellation Sea and Great Devil Battle platform. The Heavenly Deity Mountain also calmed down. Everything seemed to be coming to an end. Qin Wentian had long brought his people back to his palace to cultivate, waiting for the convention of the Myriad Realms to end. Chapter 1796. Today, in the palace Qin Wentian was in, a resplendent light suddenly erupted forth as many people gathered here. At this moment, a figure walked out from the courtyard ahead. His features were delicate and handsome, radiating sunlight. Right now, a complacent smile could be seen in his eyes. Mengchen, not bad. Qin Wentian praised. Jun Mengchen smiled, that's true. Senior brother, you have already broken through so long ago. I didn't cultivate for nothing after so many years. So it turned out that earlier, Jun Mengchen broke through and officially comprehended a world heart, becoming a world overlord. Another world overlord appeared beside Qin Wentian. You have to learn everything from your senior brother. Nanfeng Yaoyue smiled. You directly comprehended a world heart before deducing a heaven heart mandate. This world heart should be extraordinary as well, right? Although Nanfeng Yaoyue was happy, she also felt a trace of disappointment in her heart. The juniors all surpassed her. When she was in Azure Mystic, she was the matriarch of the Nonghuang clan. Hee hee. Jun Mengchen laughed in a silly manner. I'm still thinking of a name for my world heart. Senior brother, why don't you help me choose one? I want to see what kind of world heart it is. Qin Wentian laughed. Right. Jun Mengchen nodded. After that, he released his world heart. In an instant, Qin Wentian and the others felt as though they were in a different world. This world belonged to Jun Mengchen. In this world, wind and clouds howled, lightning flashed, fire and ice coexisted. As long as Jun Mengchen willed it, the scenery of this world would change. Senior brother, take a look at my attack. Jun Mengchen spoke. Instantly, the boundless energy in the world started gathering. A terrifying storm appeared in the sky, howling angrily. All the energy in the world seemed to be gathering at one point, attacking in the same direction. It was like the might of the end of the world, extremely terrifying. However, at the next instant, everything vanished, transforming into nothingness. Jun Mengchen was still smiling as he stood there. His lips curled up in satisfaction. It has been so many years and he has finally broken through to the World Overlord realm. He was naturally very happy and even felt a little complacent. You possess world energy. This scene is so terrifying, it's like the end of the world has arrived. Since your world heart is extraordinary, let's name it Apocalypse. Qin Wentian said. Jun Mengchen's eyes flashed as he smiled and nodded, all right, let's name it Doomsday. This name sounds domineering. Seems like I have to get some wine from 10 Miles Springwind to celebrate. Qin Wentian said with a smile. Jun Mengchen said, you want to rob him of his wine again. You are trying to kill him. That fellow is definitely hiding a lot more. Qin Wentian transmitted his voice to inform 10 Miles Springwind. Very soon, his friends all came over to join in on the fun. They got Jun Mengchen to release his world heart to take a look and all of them were full of praises for Jun Mengchen. After the banquet was prepared, the group of them sat in the pavilion of the palace and drank wine, completely ignoring what was happening outside. In the central region of the time realm, even if the heavens and earth were turned upside down, it had nothing to do with them. Such a state of mind was truly rare. Seems like the convention of the myriad realms is about to end. The battles on the Devil Battle platform are extremely intense. The clashes between Empyreans are truly fascinating. At the banquet, Chao Tian spoke. That's true. Wentian, do you still remember the absolute beginning overlord in the inn? Do you still remember back then when he invited you to my inn but you rejected him? He was extremely unhappy back then. 10 Miles Springwind laughed. Qin Wentian nodded. At that time, there were many world overlords in the 10 Miles in paying a visit to a supreme world overlord. That supreme world overlord was none other than the absolute beginning overlord. If 10 Miles Springwind didn't mention it, Qin Wentian would have forgotten about it. That fellow really thinks that he is very strong. He went to the Devil Battle platform to challenge a hegemonic level world overlord from the Chao clan. But in the end, the hegemonic level world overlord unleashed his Heavenheart mandate and blasted him to the point where he coughed out blood. Many of the so-called hegemonic level world overlords have an undeserved reputation. But from this, one can tell that the disparity between world overlords is simply too great. Even if you are already very powerful, there are still world overlords who are stronger than you who can easily suppress you. 10 Miles Springwind sighed. This time around, there are indeed many experts. But the battle between Qin Wentian and Yu Changkong is definitely something that everyone will remember. Phoenix stared at Qin Wentian as she giggled. This time around, you have truly become famous in the mystic region. After the convention ends, the name of the Qingqing Realm Lord would surely circulate. Qin Wentian smiled and didn't say anything. At this moment, a beam of light descended from the sky, resembling a divine radiance. The gazes of everyone froze as they inclined their heads and stared in that direction. Old Ghost narrowed his eyes as he mumbled in a low voice, the people from the 3 hegemonic powers have arrived. Seems like the convention is nearing its end. Do you want to go and take a look? Phoenix laughed. There's nothing to see. How can it be as enjoyable as drinking wine? Chao Tian spoke heroically. How magnificent. pity my whine. 10 Miles Spring Wind felt pain in his heart. At the center of the time realm, the attention of everyone was focused on them. The experts from the three hegemonic powers were as common as clouds. The experts from the three hegemonic powers arrived, attracting countless gazes. Countless world overlords in the entire convention all headed there to spectate. The palaces were all empty except for the palace where Qin Wentian was in. The few of them were still drinking to their heart's content, creating a beautiful scenery. Qin Wentian and the others didn't care about what happened there. Since Qin Wentian decided to give up on fighting for fame and fortune in the convention, his heart would naturally be as calm as still water. This time around, he already felt that his harvest for the convention was extremely bountiful. In fact, it could even be considered an unexpected pleasant surprise. Everything else was no longer that important. In the central region of the time realm, some people were extremely dazzling, exuding boundless magnificence. Even for Yu Changkong, who was once defeated by Qin Wentian, his wish was finally fulfilled. The Ziwei Divine Court invited him to join their ranks, becoming the center of attention of everyone. Although he was defeated once, his future was still destined to be glorious. As for the Qingqing Realm Lord, no one seemed to care about him. Back then, although he defeated Yu Changkong and obtained the position of the Constellation Lord, he took the initiative to give it up and would head to the Tiandao Sacred Academy for cultivation. This matter naturally couldn't be hidden from the Ziwei Divine Court. Hence, the Ziwei Divine Court didn't mention Qin Wentian. In the crowd, Dong Huangying's beautiful eyes stared at the young man who was highly regarded by the Ziwei Divine Court. Pride could be seen in her eyes. So what if he was defeated before? He could still endure the humiliation and make a comeback. Right now, he finally joined the Ziwei Divine Court and even had the chance to meet a heavenly deity. His future accomplishments would surely be incomparably glorious and he would become a future monarch. There was no need to doubt that he would surpass Qin Wentian. The heavenly deity mountain also accepted several transcendent-level world overlords. They were all people who had good encounters in the heavenly deity mountain and were suitable to cultivate there. Their talent was also extremely high. Only the great devil divine palace didn't accept any disciples. That person who obtained first place on the devil battle platform and sat on the devil throne, obtaining the devil god armor and devil god spear, was a hegemon of the devil path. He was the master of the myriad devil realm and was known as the myriad devil realm lord. His strength towered up into the sky and he defeated many hegemonic level experts. Naturally, there were also some extremely powerful hegemonic level experts who didn't participate. Finally, the three hegemonic powers announced that the convention of the myriad realms has concluded. Next, the three hegemonic powers will release some cultivation arts for everyone in the time realm to cultivate. For those who are willing to stay behind, they can cultivate for 100 years in the time realm, starting from the day the time realm opens. Because, during this 100 years in the time realm, the flow of time in the time realm would be the fastest. In the outside world, only a year might have passed. To those who needed time to cultivate, this by itself was already an extremely great reward, allowing them to cultivate for close to 100 years more compared to the people in the outside world. Who wouldn't be willing? Maybe, only those hegemonic level characters wouldn't mind it. 100 years more or less, to them, it didn't really matter. Wentian, do you plan to cultivate in the time realm or do you want to leave? 10 Miles Springwind asked Qin Wentian. I've only cultivated for roughly 500 plus years now. With close to 100 years of time, it's equivalent to 1/5 of my lifespan. Do you think I'd be willing to leave? Qin Wentian laughed. To him, this was even greater compared to joining the Ziwei Divine Court. If he cultivated in the time realm, time would pass very slowly in the outside world. He would have wasted so many years of cultivation time. This fellow, you are mocking Old Ghost again. 10 Miles Springwind laughed. Old Ghost ruthlessly glanced at 10 Miles Springwind. This bastard actually used Qin Wentian's name to mock him. Close to 100 years, I definitely have to stay behind. Jun Mengchen also sighed. Okay, we will stay behind to accompany you guys. 10 Miles Springwind casually spoke. In any case, not much time would pass in the outside world. They might as well stay here and cultivate. Everyone didn't have any objections. However, I still have something I need to settle in the outside world. If the time is up, I might leave in advance. If you guys want to cultivate, I can wait for you guys in Time City. Qin Wendian spoke. Right now, only a few days should have passed in the outside world. But after his uncle arrived in Time City, he would definitely head out. I don't mind. 10 Miles Springwind casually spoke. Not only for them, the vast majority of people chose to stay behind. Only some major characters at the peak chose to leave. 100 years of time didn't hold much attraction to them. In the time realm, there were countless world overlords and it was still extremely lively. In addition, the three hegemonic powers sent over many cultivation manuals for the world overlords in the time realm to comprehend. Unknowingly, time flowed by. Qin Wendian was in closed-door seclusion in the time realm, comprehending the laws of time and attempting to fuse them into his world heart. If he did so, his new world heart would be even more terrifying. However, the higher the world overlord's cultivation level, the higher the difficulty would be. It wasn't something that could be accomplished in a short period of time. Tens of years later, the vast majority of world overlords in the time realm were still around. It was said that only a few months have passed in the outside world. However, this was a minor matter. Today, a shocking piece of news circulated around the time realm. The source of this news came from the Donghuang clan. After the successor of the Time King, Yu Changkong left, he headed to the Ziwei Divine Court. During these few months, he passed some tests in the Ziwei Divine Court and now, he was accepted as a disciple by a heavenly deity. For a period of time, he became one of the young men with the strongest background in the mystic region. He was incomparably dazzling, it was unknown how many people were envious of him. After Qin Wendian learned of this news, he shook his head and smiled. Most probably, the Ziwei Divine Court didn't wish for another character like the Sword Monarch to appear out of control. Naturally, Yu Changkong's talent was also very outstanding. Not long after this news circulated out, Yu Changkong actually made an exception and returned to the time realm. Disciples of heavenly deities naturally had special privileges. This time around, his purpose for coming here was to propose marriage to Donghuang Ying. The Donghuang clan immediately agreed. For a period of time, Yu Changkong became the focal point of countless people. He was the successor of the Time King, the son of a heavenly deity, a disciple of the Sun Moon's sacred mountain, the son-in-law of the Donghuang clan. Right now in the mystic region, how many young geniuses could be mentioned in the same breath as him? Chapter 1797. Yu Changkong's name shook the time realm. When he returned, Qin Wendian was currently in closed-door seclusion. He was trying to comprehend his heavenly fate world heart and was attempting to infuse the source origin of time energy into it. Qin Wendian had a Dao bone in his body. After several tens of years of insights, his attainments in the time-attributed laws were extremely high. In fact, he even managed to fuse his insights into many Heaven Heart mandates, creating an even more terrifying Heaven Heart mandate. It was unknown how much his attack prowess had increased. But because the time-attributed laws were ethereal, up until now, he still hasn't completed the transformation of his world heart. It was like he was still lacking something. The heavenly fate world heart itself was already an extremely powerful world heart. If it was added with the power of time, according to what Qin Wendian wanted to achieve, it would definitely be extremely terrifying. Maybe, it would allow him to transform from a transcendent-level world overlord to a character who had a chance to contend against hegemonic-level world overlords. Naturally, this was only in theory. He had never truly fought against hegemonic-level world overlords before and had only seen their battles before. They were truly extremely powerful. Even the weakest world overlord would have a world heart that was ridiculously strong. Unable to comprehend it for a long time, Qin Wendian had no choice but to temporarily end his seclusion and prepare to rest for a period of time. Qin Wendian just exited seclusion and when he came outside, he saw a figure walking over. She was clad in phoenix robes and exuded a sense of nobility and holiness. This person was none other than the Southern Phoenix matriarch, Nanfeng Yaoyue. At this moment, an extremely bright smile appeared on her beautiful face. As noble as she was, she seemed to be unable to hide her joy at this moment. She looked at Qin Wentian and said, "I've broken through the realm." Qin Wentian started. He stared at Nanfeng Yaoyue and as expected, her aura became even more outstanding. He involuntarily smiled, "My wish has finally come true." "Yes." Nanfeng Yaoyue nodded. Her beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wentian as she smiled, "Wentian, thank you." "Yaoyue, don't forget how we came here." "Back then, you were the empress and helped me a lot," said Qin Wentian with a smile. "Yes, but you don't know what breaking through to the next level means to us, the people of Qingxian." Nanfeng Yaoyue sighed. Once, they pursued the ancient emperor realm. But now, they were already world overlords of an area. In the past Azure Mystic, they were already gods. If it weren't for Qin Wentian, she might never have achieved such achievements. It's only a matter of time. There will be a day when everyone in Azure Mystic will step into the world overlord realm. Qin Wentian smiled. Not only for the Southern Phoenix matriarch, a few years ago, a devil cultivator from the myriad devil islands and an expert from the Battle Saint tribe also broke through to the world overlord realm. The number of world overlords around him gradually increased. Qing shouldn't be too far away from breaking through to the next realm. She was currently working hard to break through to the sector lord level. "I'm so angry." At this moment, a white bolt of lightning shot towards Qin Wentian. It was Little Rascal. This fellow was as unreliable as ever. Qin Wentian caught him and asked, "Who made you angry again?" "Earlier, I got that fellow 10 miles to bring me and Purgatory for a stroll outside. I know that Yu Changkong has returned to the time realm. Right now, many people are discussing you and Yu Changkong. Many of them feel that Yu Changkong was merely defeated temporarily and would definitely surpass you in the future, becoming a monarch character. That loser, what qualifications does he have?" Little Rascal angrily spoke. Qin Wentian involuntarily laughed. He shook his head, "Little fellow, why do you care about these things? You only know how to laze around every day. If you have so much free time, why don't you focus on your cultivation and become a world overlord as soon as possible?" As for Yu Changkong's matter, he didn't really care about it. Just let him be. As for the words of the people outside, could it be that he could control their mouths? After Yu Changkong entered the tutelage of a heavenly deity, let alone people discussing about him, there were most probably many people who were trying to flatter him. In truth, it was just like what Qin Wentian had expected. Right now, the Donghuang clan's palace was filled to the brim. Experts gathered here to offer their congratulations, including many hegemonic characters of the mystic region. Other than giving face to the Donghuang clan, it was also because Yu Changkong was in the palace right now. The Donghuang clan's palace prepared a banquet, inviting everyone. Yu Changkong was like the moon surrounded by stars, exuding boundless glory. However, he still maintained his humility and was extremely polite. "I heard that Yu Changkong has only cultivated for over 800 years, not even 1,000 years, yet he already has such shocking accomplishments and even entered the tutelage of a heavenly deity. I can already see the rise of another sword monarch. That's only natural. The Time King is a legendary character, he knows the past and the future. Back then when Sword Monarch participated in the convention, the Time Monument inscription appeared. Sword Monarch comprehended it and rose up. This time around, the Time Monument inscription appeared again and Yu Changkong comprehended it. There's no need to say anything, everything is already destined. Although I've always felt that the Donghuang clan is a peak power in the mystic region, this time around, I still have to say that the Donghuang clan will have a good son-in-law. The atmosphere here was extremely lively. The experts of the Donghuang clan all had smiles on their faces. As the ruler of an immortal realm, the Donghuang clan was already at an extremely high position. What was the only thing they lacked? A heavenly deity, that would be the ultimate goal of their Donghuang clan. Right now, Yu Changkong appeared. Although he wasn't a descendant of the Donghuang clan, if he married Dong Huangying, as the son-in-law of the Donghuang clan, how close would their relationship be? Because when Yu Changkong proposed marriage, the Donghuang clan didn't hesitate to agree. Seniors, there's no need to praise him anymore. If not, he would become complacent. Dong Huangying smiled. During these few days, her glory was boundless, even surpassing the glory brought by the little princess of the Donghuang clan. All of this was brought about by Yu Changkong. Her judgment wasn't wrong. Even now, she was still brooding over the matter regarding Qin Wentian. Time would prove everything, proving that she was right. She chose Yu Changkong's friendship and gave up on Qin Wentian. In addition, she would become Yu Changkong's woman. Haha, the little princess hasn't married into his family yet, but she is already speaking up for her future husband. Everyone laughed, causing Dong Huangying to blush. The banquet continued and the number of visitors was endless. The Donghuang clan didn't reject anyone and welcomed all of them. Naturally, ordinary world overlords also knew their own limits. This wasn't a place they could come to. What status did Yu Changkong have now? Other than important characters, he would receive them. For those world overlords whose statuses weren't high enough, they wouldn't even be able to meet him. It was naturally impossible for him to keep them company at the banquet. At this moment, he was currently in the backyard of his palace, receiving a group of experts. These people were from the Dragon Pool Manor in Time City. Actually, given the status of the Dragon Pool Manor, it wasn't high enough for them to pay a visit to him. However, he still received them. Young Master Yu's magnificence is unparalleled. The most dazzling character in the convention this time around is none other than young Master Yu. An expert from the Dragon Pool Manor laughed. Such words of flattery came out from his mouth, but he didn't feel that it was beneath his status at all. Senior is too polite. I'm still lacking in many areas. Back then, wasn't I defeated by someone? Also, when I wanted to express my goodwill, I was humiliated in front of everyone. Yu Changkong smiled, it was like he wasn't talking about himself. The eyes of the people from the Dragon Pool Manor flashed. This Yu Changkong actually took the initiative to expose his shortcomings. What was his intention? It's just a moment of success or failure, how can there be a conclusion? As for that person slandering young Master Yu, there's no need to care about it. He is merely a bandit and is incomparably despicable. He even dares to doubt the character of others. An expert from the Dragon Pool Manor coldly spoke. Oh yeah, does the Dragon Pool Manor intend to give up on the matter regarding the Heaven Immortal Tower? Yu Changkong suddenly asked. The expert from the Dragon Pool Manor stared at Yu Changkong in bewilderment. After that, he replied, what can we do if we don't give up? He has already allied himself with the Luotian clan and will head to the Tiandao Sacred Academy for cultivation. My Dragon Pool Manor doesn't dare to act against him. When has the hegemonic powers of the desolate region had the right to interfere in the matters of my mystic region? Yu Changkong coldly snorted. As for the Tiandao Sacred Academy, the Qingqing Realm Lord robbed the Heaven Immortal Tower. This is a personal grudge between the Dragon Pool Manor and him. The Tiandao Sacred Academy shouldn't interfere too much, right? The eyes of the expert from the Dragon Pool Manor gleamed sharply as he stared at Yu Changkong. Yu Changkong's hint was getting more and more obvious. Seems like Yu Changkong was very unhappy with Qin Wentian. The Dragon Pool Manor has developed for countless years, but we still have no way to become a peak power. In truth, we still lack a backer. In the future, if there's a chance, I will say a few words in front of my master and see if we can recommend the Dragon Pool Manor to the Ziwei Divine Court. Yu Changkong casually spoke, making a promise that was dispensable. After chatting for a while more, the expert from the Dragon Pool Manor stood up and bade farewell. When he left, his heart was filled with unease as he silently cursed Yu Changkong for being a despicable person. But this despicable person had extremely high talent, and now, he has even joined a heavenly deity's tutelage. This was a truly dangerous character. It was better to offend a gentleman than to offend a despicable person. If the Dragon Pool Manor didn't follow Yu Changkong's hint, given Yu Changkong's character, would he look for the Dragon Pool Manor to settle the debt in the future? This was extremely possible. In addition, if they followed the hint, there would be great fortune for them. From then on, the Dragon Pool Manor would join the Ziwei Divine Court. In that case, what choice should the Dragon Pool Manor make? Yu Changkong didn't say anything, but in truth, he had already said everything he needed to say. After the people of the Dragon Pool Manor left, Dong Huangying walked over and asked in a light voice, "What did you discuss with them?" "What can there be to discuss? I casually chatted for a while and sent them away." Yu Changkong smiled. He walked towards Dong Huangying and stretched out his hand, placing it on her face, gently caressing it. Dong Huangying instantly blushed as she lowered her head. Yu Changkong smiled as he pulled her into his embrace. Dong Huangying's heartbeat quickened. She had never been so intimate with a man before. "Being able to have you as my wife, I have no regrets in this life. In the future, if I stand at the peak, you will follow me to the peak and gaze down at the scenery of the world, enjoying supreme glory." Yu Changkong spoke in a gentle yet tyrannical manner. Dong Huangying only felt waves of emotion surging in her heart. After that, Yu Changkong carried her up. Dong Huangying's body trembled, but she didn't struggle. Her beautiful eyes flashed with determination. Since she has already made her choice, what was there to regret? She firmly believed that her choice was incomparably correct. Her man would definitely ascend to the peak. Chapter 1798. Right now, Qin Wentian wasn't interested to know about Yu Changkong and Dong Huangying's matters. As for the conversation between Yu Changkong and the Dragon Pool Manor, he had no way to know. In the palace, Qin Wentian was still quietly cultivating. At the same time, he maintained his connection with Luo Xunlei. Before her father arrived, Luo Xunlei was also in the time realm. She could be considered to be waiting together with Qin Wentian. As for Jun Mengchen, who had just broken through, he naturally wasn't willing to be lonely. He and Little Rascal would often roam the outside world, trying to gain insights from the cultivation treasures the three hegemonic powers left behind. At this moment, Jun Mengchen, Little Rascal, and Purgatory were standing before a stone monument, trying to comprehend the laws within. Not only for them, even Nanfeng Yaoyue and Namhuang Yunxi were here. Although the convention of the myriad realms has already ended, the time realm was still incomparably lively. There were many opportunities for good fortune, and they naturally wanted to roam the time realm frequently. "Mengchen, are you able to comprehend it?" Nanfeng Yaoyue asked Jun Mengchen. "It's a little difficult, I can't see through it. I'm afraid I will need a very long time to comprehend it." Jun Mengchen frowned. Nanfeng Yaoyue nodded. At this moment, a few figures walked over from behind them. Their auras gushed forth. Jun Mengchen, Nanfeng Yaoyue, and the others turned their heads only to see the gazes of the other party landing on them. Their expressions were somewhat cold. "Everyone, do you guys have any business with me?" Jun Mengchen asked. "Spatial prison." A cold voice rang out. In the next instant, the other party's Heaven Heart mandate directly erupted forth. Jun Mengchen and the others were instantly enveloped by the spatial prison. The pressure made it so that they couldn't move. Nanfeng Yaoyue's expression instantly changed. They didn't say anything and directly acted. Clearly, they came prepared. She released her world heart but discovered that within the spatial prison, her world heart was directly suppressed, unable to unleash its might. The spatial prison of the other party could even imprison the world hearts of others. Boom! A terrifying world diagram appeared. Jun Mengchen gave a loud roar as his world heart violently erupted forth, breaking through the suppression of his opponent's spatial prison. A world appeared, enveloping everything, enveloping his opponent within. Jun Mengchen's world heart was also born from his own comprehension and wasn't something derived from his Heaven Heart mandate. It was considered a transcendent world heart and its might was naturally powerful. "Who are you people?" Jun Mengchen stared at them and asked. Another expert walked out from the back. His eyes were terrifying as he stared at Jun Mengchen. He didn't expect that there would be a transcendent-level world overlord beside Qin Wentian. Luckily, they came prepared. So what if Jun Mengchen's world heart was extraordinary? Wentian, there's someone who wants to kill us. Little rascal was extremely quick-witted. At the instant his opponent and Jun Mengchen were in a stalemate, Little Rascal instantly took out his messaging crystal to inform Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian, who was in the midst of his cultivation, instantly opened his eyes as a cold light gleamed within. An extremely cold intent erupted forth. What was going on? Why did someone still dare to act against them? A terrifying coldness enveloped the entire palace. Numerous figures flashed over and they only saw Qin Wentian soaring up into the air, directly fleeing into the distance. What's wrong? Mo Qingcheng and the others all walked out, staring at Qin Wentian's departing back. Princess Kitamura and the other world overlords' silhouettes flashed as they directly soared into the air and chased after him. Qin Wentian didn't even say a word and directly left. Something major must have happened. Qin Wentian's speed in the air was extremely fast. He was like a white bolt of lightning, traversing through space in an instant. The speed of world overlords was simply too terrifying. Not long after, he sensed a tyrannical aura ahead of him. He directly released his immortal sense and saw that Jun Mengchen was currently fighting against an expert. At this moment, Jun Mengchen released his world heart. The might of the Apocalypse world heart was extremely powerful, gathering boundless world energy into a single point. When he unleashed his attack, the impact was even more shocking. That entire space seemed like it was about to shatter. Terrifying chi currents flowed frenziedly, attracting the attention of many world overlords. It was very rare for battles to erupt in the time realm. After all, everyone was here to participate in the convention of the myriad realms. Under the eyes of the various hegemonic powers, it was best to keep a low profile. Even if there were grudges, they would temporarily endure it and settle it after they exited the time realm. Stay your hand. A thunderous roar rang out from Qin Wentian's mouth, directly echoing through the air. His figure soared through the air, coldly staring at those experts who acted against Jun Mengchen and his group. One of them saw Qin Wentian as a cold smile flashed in his eyes. The one they were waiting for was none other than Qin Wentian. People from the Dragon Pool Manor. Qin Wentian directly appeared before Jun Mengchen and his group. The battle stopped at this instant. The experts from the Dragon Pool Manor retreated, staring Qin Wentian coldly. Despicable. Jun Mengchen cursed in a low voice. The Dragon Pool Manor was like a ghost that refused to disperse. It was actually the Dragon Pool Manor again. Qin Wentian, you robbed my heaven immortal tower. Do you really think you can forget about this? Come with us and give us an explanation. An expert from the Dragon Pool Manor spoke. It has already happened once, this is the second time. A terrifying killing intent flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes. The first time, Long Yuan Haoyu sent people to his residence to capture Mo Qingcheng. This time around, he acted against Jun Mengchen and his group, challenging his bottom line time and time again. He initially thought that after he killed Long Yuan Haoyu, if the Dragon Pool Manor no longer provoked him, he wouldn't take the initiative to cause trouble for them. But now, it seems like he wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. In the surroundings, many world overlords came. However, they all stood far away and watched. So it turned out that this was a grudge between the Dragon Pool Manor and that genius world overlord. They didn't expect that after Qin Wentian displayed such talent, defeating Yu Changkong and gaining the favor of the Tiandao Sacred Academy, the Dragon Pool Manor actually still dared to act against him? How domineering. However, could it be that the Dragon Pool Manor would rather offend the Tiandao Sacred Academy because they wanted to deal with Qin Wentian? Princess Kitamura was also rushing over. She was still in the air but her immortal sense could already see Qin Wentian's location. But at this moment, her immortal sense suddenly sensed a terrifying energy. Her beautiful eyes turned over and stared in a certain direction. Over there, she only saw a person hiding in the void, holding a bow in his hands. This bow was made from dragon bones and the bowstring was made from dragon tendons, exuding an extremely fearsome energy. At this moment, that person lifted the bow. An extremely terrifying energy gushed forth from the bow as a destructive aura gushed forth. The target of this bow was none other than Qin Wentian. "Careful!" Princess Kitamura shouted. When Qin Wentian heard Princess Kitamura's voice, he instantly felt a terrifying aura locking onto him. So it turned out that this killer move had always been waiting for him in the dark. Acting against Jun Mengchen and the others was merely to lure him out. His heavenly fate world heart was instantly unleashed, enveloping a radius of 10 million miles. The entire space was within his world heart, extending the range of his world heart to an extremely far distance and was still expanding outwards. Princess Kitamura rushed towards the archer. She could faintly sense that this bow contained a power that could threaten Qin Wentian's life. Frost appeared in the air, wanting to cause the temperature to drop to absolute zero, sealing everything in ice. "Yu Huang, move away!" Qin Wentian roared. He naturally could sense how terrifying the power contained within the bow was. This wasn't something Princess Kitamura could defend against. His silhouette flashed as he directly rushed over. Dang! The bowstring trembled lightly as the roar of a dragon rang out, shaking the heavens and earth. The frost energy in the air was directly shattered by the impact. A light sound akin to lightning rang out. The bowstring trembled as the dragon roar rang out. An arrow shot through the air, resembling the most terrifying lightning in the world, capable of breaking all laws in the world. Reverse! Qin Wentian roared. The Heaven Heart mandate in his heavenly fate world heart erupted forth, wanting to control everything. However, there was no way for him to do so. The bow that the archer was using was the world-breaking bow, able to break all laws. It was specially used to kill world overlords, hiding in the void. With a single arrow, even ordinary hegemonic-level world overlords would die. The arrow shot through the air with inconceivable speed. Qin Wentian's eyes narrowed, it was like he could already see the arrow about to pierce through his body. At this moment, a figure appeared in his eyes, gradually becoming clearer. This caused Qin Wentian's expression to drastically change as terror appeared on his face. Scram! Qin Wentian roared. The figure that appeared was actually Princess Kitamura. However, Qin Wentian was very clear that given Princess Kitamura's strength, it was basically impossible for her to block this arrow. She was simply courting death. Princess Kitamura unleashed the full power of her Heaven Heart mandate, wanting to freeze the arrow. However, it was completely useless. That arrow had an extreme speed and could penetrate through everything. She didn't even have time to unleash her full power. It was too fast, so fast that it was inconceivable. No! Qin Wentian roared as his expression changed. He watched as the arrow shot towards Princess Kitamura. After that, it pierced through Princess Kitamura's body. That incomparably resplendent beam of light was like the cruelest light in the world. Princess Kitamura didn't even feel anything. She didn't have the time to feel anything. Right now, she only had a single thought in her mind. She hoped that she would be able to buy some time for Qin Wentian to weaken the power of this arrow. At this moment, when Qin Wentian saw the arrow piercing into Princess Kitamura's body, his world seemed to slow down. In his entire world, only that scene remained. His heart felt like it was pierced through by the arrow as he felt an extreme pain. He truly hoped that he would be able to make it in time. However, everything happened too quickly, so fast that he couldn't react in time. Unless, everything stopped. Stop. Everything. Can you stop? An extremely complicated thought flashed through Qin Wentian's mind. His world seemed to have come to a halt. Everything was moving so slowly. Time and space stop. A voice rang out in Qin Wentian's heart. At this moment, the gusts of wind seemed to have stopped. The violent currents of air also quietened down, no longer flowing. The arrow that pierced through Princess Kitamura's body with extreme speed also stopped. The arrow that should have directly pierced through actually slowed down to a stop. From afar, that expert who shot out the arrow originally wanted to shoot out another arrow. However, the movements of his hands suddenly halted. His hands couldn't move, his eyes couldn't move as well. Everything about his body seemed to have stopped. At this moment, many world overlords in the surroundings who were spectating were also enveloped by Qin Wentian's world heart. The wind blowing on their faces seemed to have disappeared. Their long hair no longer fluttered in the wind. Their beating hearts and exhaling breaths, at this moment, everything stopped. Chapter 1799. In this space, everything seemed to come to a complete stop at this instant. Everyone wanted to blink, but they discovered that they couldn't move their eyes at all. Only their thoughts were still operating. Other than their thoughts, everything else entered a state of absolute stillness. Huge waves rose up in their hearts. What terrifying world heart energy was this? This entire spacetime was frozen. Qin Wentian moved. In this situation where everyone was frozen, every minute movement in this space was magnified boundlessly. Even at this moment, Qin Wentian could still move. What did this mean? This meant that the ability to freeze spacetime was unleashed by Qin Wentian. This was a supremely powerful heaven heart mandate that fused the laws of time and space. Qin Wentian's comprehension of time and space had actually reached such a terrifying level. Those experts from the Dragon Pool Manor were the same as everyone else. They were all enveloped by Qin Wentian's world heart. When everything stopped and Qin Wentian took a step forward, they all knew whose ability this was. This was the power of Qin Wentian's heaven heart mandate that belonged to Qin Wentian. This supreme genius, the young world overlord who once defeated Yu Changkong, once again unleashed his unparalleled talent. In his world heart, time and space froze. What was heaven's mandate? Heaven's mandate couldn't be described. His will was heaven's mandate. Qin Wentian came to the side of Princess Kitamura and hugged her. That arrow that could destroy everything pierced through her chest. There was a terrifying destructive energy within, wanting to destroy everything. If it wasn't for the fact that time and space froze at this instant, her body might have already been crushed by that terrifying energy. Who told you to do this? Qin Wentian stared at Princess Kitamura. Princess Kitamura's eyes were also looking at him, but she couldn't move. She could only stare fixedly at him, unable to reply. Qin Wentian hugged her soft body tightly. He reached out his hand, closed his eyes, and pulled the arrow out bit by bit. When he pulled the arrow out, his heart ached, as if the arrow had pierced into his body. A surge of life energy flowed unceasingly into Princess Kitamura's body. After that, his silhouette flickered again as he placed Princess Kitamura beside the Southern Phoenix matriarch. Wait for me for a moment. When he turned around again, his pitch-black eyes emitted an extremely cold, killing intent. He naturally understood that from the start when the Dragon Pool Manor acted against Jun Mengchen and the others, their goal was to lure him out. After that, they didn't give him any chance and directly killed him. This was an extremely obvious trap. There was an extremely powerful character in the dark, wielding a divine bow and arrow that could ignore the power of heaven heart mandates and kill him. If it wasn't for the fact that his world heart underwent a transformation at the critical moment, that arrow would have directly killed Princess Kitamura. It was hard to say whether he would still be alive or dead. This was a well-planned trap. From this moment onwards, Qin Wentian understood that the enmity between him and the Dragon Pool Manor had already reached an irreconcilable state. Either you die or I die. Stepping out, Qin Wentian soared through the air, directly appearing before the powerful character wielding the bow. That person was also within Qin Wentian's world heart. The stillness of spacetime caused the world-breaking bow that could break all arts to freeze as well. When he saw Qin Wentian walking towards him, terror could be seen in his eyes that couldn't move. But at this moment, he didn't even have the chance to beg for mercy because he had no way to speak. Qin Wentian picked up the arrow and waved his hand. With a swish, fresh blood splattered before it stopped. His opponent's head was directly decapitated, his body also stopped moving. This scene was extremely shocking. This was the anger of Qin Wentian. After keeping the bow and arrow, Qin Wentian continued on, moving towards the other experts of the Dragon Pool Manor. If these experts could move, they would surely be so frightened that they would tremble. Even for world overlords, they would still feel fear. Before death, who wouldn't feel fear? However, what use was fear? When they came here, everything was already destined. If Qin Wentian didn't die, the ones who would die would be them. And now, there was no doubt that the ones who would die would be them. In Qin Wentian's world heart, he was the heavens. Even time and space could stop. Qin Wentian was the god of this world heart, the ruler of everything. He lifted the world-breaking bow and shot it explosively towards the heads of the experts of the Dragon Pool Manor. The whistling sound of the arrow was extremely ear-piercing in the stillness of space. After that, numerous world overlords died. These powerful world overlords didn't even have the time to scream in agony. The stillness of space had no way to stop Qin Wentian's attacks. Because, this was his world, he was the ruler of everything. When all the experts of the Dragon Pool Manor died, a gust of wind suddenly brushed past their faces. The thumping sounds of heartbeats could be heard. The eyes of everyone moved, the bodies of the world overlords in the surroundings trembled lightly. Naturally, it wasn't because of fear but because of intense shock. The Dragon Pool Manor laid out a death trap, wanting to kill the young Supreme World Overlord Qin Wentian. But in the end, all the experts of the Dragon Pool Manor died. That supreme character unleashed his World Heart and Heaven Heart mandate that were comparable to hegemonic level characters. In his World Heart, time and space froze. The world overlords of the Dragon Pool Manor stood there unmoving, allowing him to slaughter them one by one, unleashing his anger. Who? Someone let out a long sigh, the shock in his heart had no way to calm down. Qin Wentian was simply too powerful. Such talent could be said to be unrivaled. However, he actually wasn't willing to display his brilliance, he wasn't willing to become a disciple of the Ziwei Divine Court. Right now, it was rumored that Qin Wentian has already become a heavenly deity's disciple. Countless people sighed in admiration and countless major characters went to congratulate him. But today, for those who personally witnessed Qin Wentian's battle, they all faintly felt that this world overlord who defeated Yu Changkong before, was truly more outstanding compared to Yu Changkong. Even in terms of attainments in time, he most probably wouldn't lose out to Yu Changkong. If Yu Changkong was destined to become a character like the Sword Monarch, what about the Qingqing Realm Lord? Could it be that he couldn't do the same? Maybe, in this convention of the myriad realms this time around, two supreme characters would appear. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian didn't have the time to care about the thoughts of everyone. Right now, he was beside Princess Kitamura, hugging her as he asked, "Yu Huang, why are you so foolish?" Back then, I didn't think too much about it. I just so happened to see someone using a bow to deal with you and I wanted to stop him. Princess Kitamura casually spoke, as though this was a minor matter that wasn't worth mentioning. Qin Wentian was speechless. He stared at Princess Kitamura's haggard countenance. "Your injuries, it's fine. Although the destructive power of that strike was still passable, didn't you save me in time? I'll be fine after I recover for a period of time." Princess Kitamura's voice was as cold as ever, despite the fact that she almost died earlier. Nanfeng Yaoyue, Jun Mengchen and the others all rushed over, their eyes flashing with the flames of hatred. The Dragon Pool Manor actually directly tried to kill him. What a ruthless method. If Qin Wentian didn't comprehend the ability to stop time, the consequences would be unimaginable. From afar, a powerful pressure gushed forth, causing the eyes of everyone to flash as they turned over. After that, they saw the experts from the Dragon Pool Manor arriving. The person in the lead was none other than the Dragon Pool Manor Lord. Right now, his face was ashen. The person in charge of this assassination mission was his younger brother. However, his younger brother had the world-breaking bow with him and should have been absolutely safe. But in the end, the plan actually failed. Qin Wentian was still alive, but his younger brother and the experts from the Dragon Pool Manor had all died here. Staring at the heads rolling on the ground, his eyes turned red, flickering with an extremely cold killing intent. This assassination mission could be said to have completely torn apart all pretense of cordiality. There was no longer a need for pretense. A raging wind gusted as a few more experts appeared from the void, directly appearing beside Qin Wentian. It was 10 miles spring wind and the others. Dragon Pool Manor. Chao Tian's eyes were cold to the extreme, staring in the direction of the Dragon Pool Manor as an intense killing intent flickered in his eyes. The Dragon Pool Manor actually directly tried to kill him, wanting to take Qin Wentian's life. And they had their own reasons for doing this. Although the reason for the conflict between Qin Wentian and the Dragon Pool Manor was because of a serving girl, they persuaded Qin Wentian to rob the Heaven Immortal Tower together with them. They once said that with Chao Tian's background, they would be able to suppress this matter and the Dragon Pool Manor wouldn't dare to act. But in truth, the Dragon Pool Manor was determined to kill Qin Wentian. What a grand plan. Old Ghost also narrowed his eyes, staring in the direction of the Dragon Pool Manor. The Manor Lord of the Dragon Pool Manor radiated a terrifying might as he stepped out, causing the hearts of everyone in this space to tremble. The Manor Lord of the Dragon Pool Manor didn't mind personally acting to kill Qin Wentian. Could it be because of Long Yuan Haoyu's death? Although Long Yuan Haoyu was a genius world overlord of the Dragon Pool clan, it shouldn't be enough to cause such a commotion, right? The experts of the entire manor were all acting together just to kill the Qingqing Realm Lord. This seemed to be an irreconcilable grudge. Unless, the Dragon Pool Manor felt that Qin Wentian was a threat to their survival. But in truth, no one had heard of Qin Wentian taking the initiative to do anything to the Dragon Pool Manor. Old Ghost, Chao Tian and the others flashed, directly appearing before Qin Wentian. The Manor Lord of the Dragon Pool Manor was a hegemonic-level world overlord existence. There was no need to doubt how terrifying he was. Boom! A figure descended from the sky, resembling a heavenly deity. An incomparably powerful pressure enveloped this space. The person who appeared was an old man, and after he appeared, Luo Shenlei also appeared. Her expression was extremely cold as she stared at the Dragon Pool Manor Lord. Seems like the Dragon Pool Manor doesn't have my Luotian clan in their eyes at all. Back then, I've warned the Dragon Pool Manor, but you guys still dared to act. This is a grudge between my Dragon Pool Manor and Qin Wentian. Why must the Luotian clan of the desolate region interfere? Don't forget that this place is the convention of the myriad realms in the mystic region. The Dragon Pool Manor Lord's expression was extremely unsightly to behold. This time around, if they succeeded in killing Qin Wentian, everything would be fine. But now, they failed. Yu Changkong's hint wasn't completed and the Luotian clan and Chao Tian had clearly offended them greatly. They even lost several world overlords. Right now, with so many experts gathered here, it was almost impossible for them to kill Qin Wentian. I will remember your words. Don't forget them as well. Luo Shenlei stared at the Dragon Pool Manor Lord as she spoke. This caused the Dragon Pool Manor Lord to feel some regret. But since things have come to this, he had no other choice.